more focal when it comes to the Bears.
Big day in Southern California, Tim. Not only are the Raiders and Bears playing here, down in Anaheim later on tonight, the Redskins and Rams. Dodgers play the Mets at Dodger Stadium, and UCLA against San Diego State at the Rose Bowl.
But here it's Raiders and Bears, and the Bears have won the toss. They will receive and defend the east goal line, and that's only fitting that the Bears should defend the east against the West Coasters. Tim Jesse, Thomas Sanders are back deep for the Bears to receive the kick from Chris Barr, veteran place kicker for the Raiders. And what crowd we do have on hand here, maybe 40, 45,000. They're into the game. This is Tim Jesse fumbling the football, and it appears Los Angeles has recovered. Jamie Kimmel from Syracuse has picked up the loose football, and Tim Jesse, the rookie from Auburn, has fumbled away the opening kickoff. The Raiders are in business early.
Tim Jesse with the football here just gets it stripped away. Actually, number 25, one of the men on the play there. Whole host of Los Angeles Raiders. Actually, number 23, Ethan Horton, credited with the strip.
Former first-round draft choice of the Chiefs, correct? Now playing special teams with the Raiders along with running back. And here we go, Los Angeles Raiders with the football on the Bear 18-yard line, 1st and 10. Number 12, Rusty Hilger. To Hawkins. Frank Hawkins, the veteran running back. Picking up maybe 2 or 3 on the play, make it 4. 2nd and 6. As the Bears are immediately in a very defensive position with the football resting now on their own 14-yard line. Rusty Hilger, the quarterback's got to make himself established this year. The Raiders are giving him every opportunity. He throws out wide to the tight end, Christensen, spins inside. Finally brought down very close to the first down. Mike Singletary was involved in the stop along with Dave Duerson.
Rusty Hilger did a good job of picking up the Bear blitz. They were in the Bear defense. Todd Bell came, and Todd Christensen released. He was the outlet man, and Rusty did a good job finding him for the first down for the Raiders. They're inside the Bear 10 at the 7.
1st and goal on the 7 as you look at the Raiders offensive line. Davis, Hannah, Mosbar, and so forth. Hilger, Hawkins, and Allen in the backfield. And we have some new wideouts for the Raiders today. We'll tell you about in a moment as Marcus Allen gains up close to about a yard on the play. The Raider wideouts are normally Dokie Williams and Chessie Hester, but James Lofton over from Green Bay and Mervyn Fernandez, after 5 years in Canada, are the starters today for the Raiders.
If you look at the receiving core for Los Angeles, one of the reasons they're doing that, Tim, starting Lofton and Fernandez, is to give Rusty Hilger a chance to get in sync with them. He hasn't had too much work with them so far this preseason, and the Raiders 3 games.
Hilger right now, touchdown. James Lofton, no good. It's waved away. Lofton on the back line, almost had it.
One foot in, but not the necessary 2, and he didn't have control of the football. Nice touch, though, by Rusty Hilger. You see a little bit of a pick play. Reggie Phillips being taken inside, and Vesty Jackson all alone on James Lofton.
So the Bears get new life now, 3rd down and about 5 for the touchdown as the Raiders will try and punch it in. Hawkins the lone setback. Over to the corner, nice coverage by Vesty Jackson on number 84. Jesse Hester, the receiver. And the Raiders are going to have to settle for a field goal as the Bear defense stiffens. Mike, that's about the worst possible thing that can happen to you right off the opening kickoff, is to cough it up that deep in your own territory.
But the best possible thing that can happen to you is have a defense like the Bears that can stop a team like the Raiders inside the 20 when they get the ball and force them to go for just 3 points instead of 7.
It'll be a 23-yard field goal attempt by Chris Barr. The ball is down, it's up, it's no good. No good. The Bears have held, and the Raiders are still off the scoreboard. 0-0. With 12:48 to go in the first quarter, and we'll be back right after this.
So the Chicago Bears get a break after Chris Barr missed a 23-yard field goal attempt. As you look at the Chicago Bears starting offense, two new starters, Doug Flutie at quarterback, Neil Anderson at fullback.
Flutie throws right away to Emery Moorhead, picking up 3 or 4 yards on the play with Jerry Robinson on the coverage, the Eagle veteran who's found a home out here in Southern California, which is more than the Raiders can say, Mike. They haven't found a home yet.
And Emery Moorhead, a man who's going to have a long day this afternoon as he joins Willie Gault and Ron Morris as the Bears starting wide receiver. Moorhead, of course, the only veteran tight end for the Bears. Tim Reitman declared out for the season after undergoing surgery for torn ligaments in his right knee earlier this week.
And he will be sorely missed by the Bears. They're scanning the waiver wires for another tight end. Off the motion to Neil Anderson, up the middle, picking up maybe 2. That's going to make it 3rd and about 5 for the Bears.
Neil Anderson, one of the reasons why he wants to get, Mike Ditka wants to get Neil into the game, as he gives that fullback position a great new dimension. One of quickness, something that the Bears haven't had from that position in the last couple of seasons. Not the kind of quickness that Neil Anderson has.
There aren't many fullbacks in the league with that kind of quickness. He's still learning the position, but he has a world of potential. As you take a good look at Doug Flutie. Complete to Morris, number 84, Lester Hayes with the stop, up very close to a first down. Let's take a look as the officials try to sort them out.
Well, he knows what the stakes are in this quarterback derby for the Chicago Bears.
And he feels if he can't play here, perhaps he can play somewhere else, as Walter Payton goes in motion behind him. And Flutie throws to Payton. Payton cuts upfield. Dodges 3 or 4 tacklers, but apparently there's a flag on Rubens, the center, who's out there trying to block for Walter Payton. Mike Haynes was involved in the stop. That juke move by Walter was beautiful, but it apparently cost a clipping call against Rubens, number 52.
And the Raiders had the screen pretty well sniffed out here. Larry Rubens, incidentally, starting in place of the injured Jay Hilgenberg. Jay Hilgenberg has a slight tear in his rotator cuff in his shoulder area. It's listen to the call.
Personal foul, clipping, number 52 on the offense, penalized half the distance to the goal. Repeat the down, first down.
It's not all that serious, Jay Hilgenberg's injury, the kind of things that probably a lot of offensive linemen have. But Mike Ditka thought with the Giants game coming up, it's a good idea to give Jay a rest today and let Larry Rubens start at center. And he's done a good job this preseason.
We're looking at first down and 20 now for the Bears. A rough break, and Doug Flutie and his Bear teammates are in the hole right now. As Ron Morris is in motion. Here's the give up the middle of Payton. Rolls up over the pile. Mitch Willis was in on the stop, one of the Raider reserve inside linemen on deep. It's a shame, Mike, that nobody's going to be playing here when the Raiders go to Irwindale, but that's, I suppose, not our problem. 2nd and 17 with Morris in motion. Flutie gives up the middle this time to Anderson. Anderson has some room to operate, gets up close to the 30 in the original line of scrimmage. And the Bears will be looking at 3rd and about 10 as Rod Martin, the veteran linebacker, was involved in the stop.
Here's the draw play again. This time Neil Anderson trying to read the block of the center and the guard. One of the players is Larry Rubens, number 52. As we mentioned earlier, he's going up against Bill Pickell, or actually Mitch Willis. Pickell not in the game at this time. And Rubens does a good job of turning him away from Anderson.
Flutie from the shotgun. And we have a Bear jumping offside. This play's coming back, and Flutie's going down. Sean Jones, the NFL's leading sack man. Part of that fearsome Raider rush, which really annihilated Dallas last week. Let's listen for the call.
offside. Offense, number 29. Penalty decline, 4th down.
So you heard it. The Bears will kick it away now with 4th and 10. Actually, it's 4th and a lot more than that. They haven't moved the sticks yet. Maury Buford is going to be in kicking for the Bears, and this is an important series of kicks for Maury, who's fighting for his professional existence right now with Brian Wagner, the guy who came over from Denver in the trade. Stephon Adams is deep for the Raiders. Buford will let it go from about his own 12. And the kick hits, rolls, gets a bear roll, and heading for out of bounds as Adams finally lets it go out. About a 45-yard punt with no return for Maury Buford, who does himself proud with that effort. It's still 0-0. There's 9:25 to go in the first quarter. The Bears and Raiders still feeling each other out right now. And there you see the Bears punting problem, and there you see the cause of it, number 8, Maury Buford, who dispelled a lot of the bad pub by getting off a 45-yard kick his last effort. The Raiders now with the ball in their own 32. Hilger pitching out. Marcus Allen cuts up inside. He's tripped up, and there's a flag on the play. And it's against the Raiders. The Fridge involved on the stop.
It's a sweep. See if we can pick it up anywhere.
I think Marcus just simply tripped.
Holding, offense, number 27. 10-yard penalty, repeat the down, 1st down.
Frank Hawkins, the running back, was the guilty party, and now the Raiders are looking at 1st and 20.
As you watch the Fridge move down the line of scrimmage, an indication of why Mike Ditka wants him in at about 3:15. The lighter he is, the quicker he is, and especially when it comes to pursuit. Mike thinks that if he gets down to weight, there's no stopping Perry in terms of his ultimate potential as a defensive tackle.
The man has awesome possibilities. Let's see what the Raiders' possibilities are. Play fake by Hilger, going long. Nothing doing. Nice coverage. Dusty Jackson and Dave Dewerson, the free safety, over helping out. James Lofton, again the intended receiver. Hilger now 1 for 4 and 7 yards. Mike, I think James Lofton has found a new home out here in more ways than one.
Well, he's a Stanford graduate, a 10-year veteran. California is so sort of home to James Lofton, and in an offense where they stress the vertical passing game, as Al Davis likes to call it, throwing those long, deep passes, he will fit right in. But he's got some competition with Jesse Hester and Dokie Williams.
Ironically, he'll open the regular season next week against Green Bay in Green Bay, so that'll be an emotional homecoming for Lofton. In the meantime, Hilger under pressure, looks for Christensen and doesn't find him. Todd Bell involved in the coverage. Hilger now 1 for 5. Big game for him, big game for Doug Flutie, although I think should Hilger bomb today, he's still going to be the Raider quarterback.
Well, they love Rusty Hilger. He's 6'4", 210, third-year man out of Oklahoma State. But he's only thrown 51 passes in regular season competition prior to this year. So while he's long on potential, he's very short on experience. And you can expect the Bears to do a lot of blitzing and stunning today to throw his timing off a little bit and give him a lot of different looks.
Well, his look now is 3rd and 20 with the ball on about the Raider 22. Hampton in his face, gets it off, and it's intercepted. Wilbur Marshall with the big play, still on his feet and right down to the 17-yard line as the Bears get a big turnaround. 18-yard return for Wilbur Marshall, the All-Pro.
As we watch from the end zone, you can tell that this is a pass that Rusty Hilger should have never thrown. Right into coverage, he's going for tight end Todd Christensen. Never sees number 58, Wilbur Marshall, who, as you mentioned, Tim, always has the knack of coming up with a big play.
Mike, Wilbur Marshall and Otis Wilson are both frustrated running backs. When they get the football on a fumble or an interception, they can really run with it.
They want to put it in the end zone, no question about that, Tim.
And they've done that many times. As you take another look at Rusty Hilger, who's put the Bears in beautiful field position. 1st and 10 on the 17. No score. 8:41 to play here in the first quarter. This is Flutie. He's got his receiver, Morris. Touchdown. Ron Morris, the rookie, a 17-yard touchdown as the Bears have drawn first blood against the Raiders.
I'll tell you, every time you write Doug Flutie off, he does something spectacular. And the way Ron Morris is playing this preseason, there's no question that he's going to wind up being the Bears starting wideout. Watch Doug, straight drop back incidentally, not a rollout, all right? Finds the seam, finds Morris underneath the linebackers. Ron does a nice job of getting away from McElroy, the Raiders' free safety, and takes it into the end zone for the touchdown.
And McElroy, no slouch. The kick is good. Bears lead at 7-0. And a very exciting first quarter with 8:32 to go. Lots more statistics. Bears on top by a touchdown with 8.5 to go in the first quarter. And Kevin Butler will kick it away. Back deep for the Raiders, Stephon Adams, number 44, who had a touchdown last week against Dallas. And Vance Mueller, who also scored from scrimmage. And the kick is going to Adams. And he runs right into the pack. Number 97, Sean Smith, led the charge for the Bears special teams. Sean Smith with a big game, Mike, trying to make the squad, and that's a good place to make it on special teams.
Also, Gary Fensick, who is sort of demoted, I guess, lost his free safety job to Dave Doerson when Todd Bell was moved into strong safety. Gary says he'll do whatever it takes to stay on this football team, including special teams.
He's always had that attitude. Lofton and Fernandez are the wide receivers again for the Raiders with Hilger at quarterback. 1st and 10 on their own 22. The blitz doesn't work. The pass play does. James Lofton, the receiver. Pickup of about 12. Vesty Jackson on the coverage. And Hilger he shows his arm strength with this toss.
Toughest pattern for a quarterback to throw, the out pattern. You got to throw it on a line. And James Lofton made the reception. Take a look at the Bear defensive line. Hampton, McMichael, Perry, Dent, Wilson, Singletary, and Marshall. A lot of Pro Bowlers in that unit.
And there's the secondary. The Bear defensive unit, arguably the best in all of football. They certainly have the numbers to back it up. Marcus Allen carried. And he got a hi, how are you in the middle of the Bear line.
William Perry.
The fridge. The fridge has got to lose about 7 or 8 more pounds if he wants to stay out of the fine routine.
Just saw the job he did on Don Mosbar, the Raiders all-pro center. Strictly overpowered him.
2nd and 9 for the Raiders. This is Hilger. This is Hilger running. This is Hilger falling. The Bear front four all over him. Dan Hampton was the leader of the charge.
Well, one of the problems that the Raiders have going into this 1987 season is sacks, quarterback sacks. Last year, as you watched Dan Hampton working against number 66, Steve Wright, and doing a number on him, Raiders allowed 64, most in the AFC.
And that one cost him about 4 yards, and they're now looking at 3rd and 14, maybe get a 5-yard loss. And they're all over Hilger already. He steps inside, and then he's going to go down behind Singletary in the fridge. Singletary led the charge.
Well, that's the position this Bear defense loves to have teams in. A 3rd down passing situation, obviously. They run that Bear defense and bring everybody. You don't know who's coming. Here comes Richard Dent. He's in there first. Finally, Mike Singletary mops him up, but also Todd Bell was there, too. Raiders did a pretty good job of picking up the blitz, but the coverage was so good in the secondary that Hilger, even though he did have some time, couldn't get it away. Mike Singletary there.
Well, Mike, the Bear defense, Vince Tobin in particular, has said that they're going to blitz more this year. It's going to more closely resemble the Buddy Ryan defense of 2 years ago. They played it a little more conservatively last year. This is Stan Talley punting for the Raiders, and he gets off a low spiral. He's coming to the near side, now out of bounds. Dennis Gentry was the receiver who had no chance to get his hands on the ball. And the Bears are going to have pretty good field position as they're looking at 1st and 10 and about their own 30. Corrected himself, and it was an inadvertent flag, so the Bears will get the ball where it went out of bounds on the Talley punt. 1st and 10 on their own 32 with Flutie quarterbacking. This is Payton running, picking up close to 3 on the play. Mitch Willis was the leader of the defensive charge for Los Angeles. Bill Piquet, All-Pro, not playing much today.
But Walter Payton will play more than he has all preseason, probably most of the first half, tune up for next Monday night against the Giants.
And Walter told us last night he's ready. Looking forward to playing alongside Neil Anderson, his good friend, who, as you mentioned earlier in the telecast, provides an entirely new dimension for the Bear offense. And here he is providing a first down, it looks like. Close to the first down anyway. Anderson breaking through a nice hole in the Raider defense.
He's the kind of running back, Tim, that offensive linemen love to block for. You don't have to get off a devastating block. All you have to do is get a piece of your man, delay him momentarily, and he's got that kind of acceleration that allows him to really explode through the hole.
Ronnie Washington made the stop, inside linebacker for Los Angeles.
Now watch the block of Emery Moorhead. Mike Ditka likes his tight ends to block. Here he has to hold off Howie Long and does a good job of sealing him off. You don't have to knock the guys down anymore, just seal them off.
And it's good enough for a Bear first down on their own 41. Doug Flutie has the offense looking very sharp in this early going. This is Anderson again. Picking up maybe 2. Mitch Willis was involved in the stop, as were several of his teammates. Went out to dinner with Walter Payton last night, Mike, and he had to wait for 30 or 40 minutes to get a seat out at a place in Marina Del Rey, and he handled it very gracefully. The manager of the restaurant was a real yahoo, but he had never heard of Walter Payton. Walter's always handled his celebrity with the greatest of ease. This is Flutie. Throws outside. Galt made the catch. Willie Galt on the catch. Lester Hayes on the coverage. Picked up maybe 4 or 5, depending on where they bring it in from the sidelines.
I tell you, for a guy whose job may be hanging in the balance, Doug Flutie has looked very poised and very confident out there. His passes are crisp. His ability to stay in the pocket and not get rattled is there. About a 5-step drop, and he just hits Willie on the little out right on the button.
Well, if you saw his winning touchdown pass against Miami in that famous Orange Bowl game, you know how cool he can be under fire. He is a winning athlete. And he's got the Bears now looking at 3rd and 4. And the ball spotted on the Bear 47. Flutie from shotgun. First down. Lester Hayes once more covering. As Ron Morris is at the bottom of the pile. Ron Morris and Willie Galt, Mike, make a devastating combination on opposite sides of the field as the Bear wideouts.
And so, and Dennis McKinnon will join that group too when he becomes completely healthy. One of the things that he does well already, he knows how much yardage he has to get for the first down. He runs the route. If it's 6 yards, he'll go 7, come back for the ball and pick up the first down, which he did there. And again, a good throw by Doug.
Flutie's passing has been impeccable so far. Bears 1st and 10 inside Raider territory. Flutie going for it all. Here's Galt.
Got him!
Oh my goodness, off of Willie Galt's shoulder, a sure touchdown. Willie Galt had beaten Mike Haynes, and that's a shame for Flutie. Mike, I think the sun might have had something to do with that. It seems like the sun is on that side of the stadium. That's a tough catch.
Now, again, straight drop back. He's got one big defensive lineman in his face and still gets the ball off. This is right on the money.
Ooh, brother.
Boy, you don't see Willie Galt do that too often. Safety Van McElroy was slow getting over there, number 26, but Willie Galt beat one of the best cornerbacks in the league, Mike Haynes, flat out.
And Mike, that's Flutie's first incompletion today, and it was a heartbreaker. He had the Bears' second score with that one. As it is, it's now 2nd and 10. Here comes Galt on the reverse. If he can outrun the defender, and he can, but it's cut off and forced out of bounds by Mitch Willis, the nose guard, who diagnosed the play well. Willie had a long way to run on that one.
Willie had a long way to run, and it was made longer because you're going to see number 75, Howie Long, forces Willie to take a little deeper route, and that allowed the rest of the Raider defensive people. That's
great pursuit by Willis, coming all the way from the middle of the line to force Willie Galt out of bounds. and now put the Bears sitting on top of a 3rd and 10 situation. And it's just inside the Raider 48. Gentry's in the slot out here. This is the 8th play of this Bear drive coming up, as the Bears have a mix-up in signals between Flutie and center Larry Rubens, who's in for Jay Hilgenberg. With 2:50 to go here in the first quarter, the Bears are going to face another
foul ball last week. Today, Doug Flutie.
All right, let's see what Flutie can do now with 3rd and 15. Ball's back in Bear territory. Flutie over the middle. And Dennis McKinnon was the intended receiver, and there was a Raider defender all over him. Lionel Washington. No flag, no completion. Bears will kick it away.
Bear fans might remember Lionel Washington. He's the man who played for the St. Louis Cardinals last year during that preseason skirmish with Keith Ortego.
And the kick is blocked. Emery Moorhead covers it up, and once more the Bears are going to be deep in the hole. Another big turnaround as Greg Townsend, number 93, defensive end on the special teams, rushed in and blocked that kick by Maury Buford. So tough break in this early going for Doug Flutie, and now a tough break for Maury Buford.
And the Raider fans, who haven't had much to cheer about so far, get off their hands and start cheering them on. Rusty Hilger will get another shot deep in Bear territory.
This is the second time they've taken the ball over inside the Bear 20 in this first quarter. With 2:37 to play in the first quarter, it's Bears 7-0, but the Raiders are threatening. Marcus Allen, not much there. Pick up maybe 2. Steve McMichael was one of the leaders of the defensive charge. They're going to give him 3. It's inside the 10 now on the Bear 9. As the clock ticks away. My error, the ball's on the 14, not the 9. Hilger loses the football. Gets it back, hits Allen. Allen stays on his feet, and now he is inside the 10. Down close to the 5. Reggie Phillips helped make the stop, but it looks like it's going to be a Los Angeles first down. What a fluke play that was.
Also kind of a lucky play on the part of Rusty Hilger. Initially, Tim, he's looking for his tight end. You see number 46, Todd Christensen, in motion. He's going to look his way, pump fakes, loses the ball, catches it again, and Marcus Allen is open. I wouldn't put this play in the playbook on a consistent basis, but it works here.
It's a great fake. I mean, a lot of defensive backs froze when they saw that ball up in the air.
Too good.
It works for a Raider first down. Ball on the Bears 6. The crowd alive as the Raiders try to tie it up. Hilger under pressure. Just off the fingertips of the Raider receiver. Mervyn Fernandez, the Canadian League refugee, almost had a touchdown. Reggie Phillips on the coverage.
And Hilger again looking left, going to the right side this time. Poised in the pocket. Pretty good throw here. Good coverage by Reggie Phillips, though.
It would have been a great catch had he been able to hold on. And as a matter of fact, it was not a great catch. So the Bears now faced with a 2nd and 6 on the part of the Raiders. Bears still leading 7-0. Here's the pitch to Allen. Misses one tackler, into the end zone, touchdown. He slipped Dave Dewerson and got into the end zone.
Marcus Allen, the man who had a rare sub-1,000-yard season last year, shows why he's a consummate all-pro running back there. That little slip fake he has, nobody does it any better than Marcus Allen.
Got a good block on the periphery to get into the end zone and give the Raiders a chance to tie the game up with 53 seconds to go in the first quarter. Chris Barr's conversion is good, and we're tied. You can't put a team like the Raiders inside your 20-yard line twice and not get away completely.
Mistakes is something that you can kind of...
Tim Jesse and Thomas Sanders again will be the return men for the Bears. As recall, Jesse fumbled the opening kickoff. And I would imagine, knowing how the Raiders operate, they'll kick to him again. The kick is high and deep and in the end zone, and I think Sanders is going to sit on it. He does. As Chris Barr got a lot of leg into that one. And Doug Flutie will come out now with the ball in his
Passing Mark Van Egan at 5,907.
Anderson and Payton are the Bear running backs. And this is Anderson with the football and a big stop in the middle for the Raiders. Ronnie Washington, number 91, a middle linebacker. You can see him getting up off the ground, primary stopper.
Talked a lot about Rusty Hilger. There's the man who for so long was the Raiders quarterback, led him to a Super Bowl, a couple of Super Bowls actually, Jim Plunkett. And right now he's on the physically unable to perform list. He had a rotator cuff surgery, much like Jim McMahon, not as serious, about 3 months ago. And they're hoping that at some point this year he'll be able to help LA.
Doug Flutie trying to help the Bears, and he said Walter Payton is greeted by Washington, who's having a heck of a first quarter. He's excited. He stops Walter well behind the line. Loss of maybe 4 on the play as the clock set now at 3 seconds, 2-1. We're going to be the end of the first quarter. The Bears 3rd and 12 on about their own 18-yard line. The score is tied at 7. Bears and Raiders are really banging heads here. Back live at the Los Angeles Coliseum, the score tied at 7. Just beginning the second quarter, the Bears 3rd and 12 on their own 18-yard line. Statistically, the game a virtual standoff, and the difference in the game, Mike, blocked punt, fumbled kickoff, and a dropped touchdown pass. Otherwise, the Bears would be in a much more commanding position. As it is, they're in no commanding position at all. They're equal, tied up with the Raiders at 7. As Doug Flutie from the shotgun will try and get the Bears a first down. He's throwing deep. Intercepted.
Jerry Robinson, number 57, the man who did it.
And great mobility for an outside linebacker.
Bears had 4 wide receivers in the game. Doug Flutie going for Dennis Gentry. Dennis has got to step on Jerry Robinson, but it's got to come back for the football. Jerry does a great job of keeping up with this speedy Gentry.
That is a truly spectacular interception. Great athletic ability. Flutie threw the ball fairly well, but Robinson was in the position he had to be to make a great catch. And now the Raiders have the ball on their own 42. This is Hilger running. Slides close to the first down. Otis Wilson looks shaken up on the play. Looks like he's going to be all right. Ball is very close to midfield, if not right on the center stripe.
The thing Tom Flores likes about Rusty Hilger, you know, he may be inexperienced, but he's cocky. He's a good kind of arrogant, the kind of arrogance that every quarterback needs, and he can run the football if need be, but they don't want him to run too much this year. As I mentioned, sacks a problem for the Raider offensive line. They'd like to keep and protect Rusty a lot more this season.
It was hard to tell how Otis got nicked on that one, but Wilbur Marshall made the stop. This looks like this is Hawkins close to the first down. Let's see where they spot it. First down it is, picking up 1. And the Raiders are in Bear territory. Otis Wilson made the stop, along with Wilbur Marshall, so Otis isn't hurt that badly. Otis is adjusting his knee pad. A beautiful grass turf here at the Coliseum, the same kind of turf we're going to see at Soldier Field next year. Lofton in motion, play fake. He's going for everything. Dewerson won't let him have it. James Lofton, the intended receiver. Dave Dewerson, the primary defender. And that's what he loves to do, Mike, is play center field at free safety.
He's made an unusually good transition. I think everybody knows that Dave's a good athlete, but playing strong safety and playing free safety are a lot different. As you mentioned, Tim, you have to be more of a center fielder as a free safety. He said, Dave was telling me that the biggest adjustment was going from the down stance to the up stance and watching the quarterback all the way. He did a good job there. I knew Rusty was going deep to Lofton and was there to help out Vesty Jackson.
He's probably angry at himself for not coming up with the interception. Here's Allen. Has some room to roam, I should say, but he's brought down after picking up maybe 2 or 3 yards. Steve McMichael was in the stop. And as Gary Fensick comes into the game, the Raiders facing a passing situation, 3rd and about 7. Let's spot the ball on the Bear 46. There you'll get a good look at Gary Fensick as the Bears' nickel defense is on the field. Big pressure. Hilger's going down. Dave Dewerson led the charge with Wilbur Marshall. A big play and a loss of 15 yards. As once again the Bear defense comes up with a big play.
Again, what the Bears love to have happen is opposing teams get into obvious passing situations. Then they bring everybody. The Bear defense gets into high gear. And the trouble, the biggest difficulty that people have blocking it, you never know where the pressure is going to come from. The free or strong safety can blitz, the linebacker can blitz, and of course the stunts that Hampton, McMichael, and the Fridge work out on the front line.
And their linebackers and defensive backs are so agile, very effective pass rushes. Talley gets this kick away. Dennis Gentry will return it. Makes a couple of moves. Dodges the first 2 but runs into a wave, and he can't get up to his own 20. 45-yard punt and a 5-yard return. Sam Seal, a cornerback on the special teams for the Raiders, made the initial hit, and there's a flag on the position. Oh, they got to have better field position than this. The Bears would have taken over there on about the 17. That's a tough rule, because it's so tempting for a guy to leave the line of scrimmage early and get down there and cover that kick. But I imagine it's kept a lot of return men in the game a little bit longer. That's a brutal job to return punts. Talley gets this one off, and it's a low end-over-ender. Gentry's going to get at least 4 or 5 yards on the return, but more importantly, the Bears are going to get the ball on their own 36, so they picked up a lot of yards on that exchange. It's 7-7. There's 11:47 left in the first half. Bears and Raiders are all even.
Los Angeles Coliseum, Bears and Raiders locked in a 7-7 second quarter tie. Dennis Gentry here returning the punt. A big difference between catching kickoffs and handling punts. You don't have near the time you do when you catch a kickoff return. And Dennis also, you have to pay attention to the coverage team coming downfield, and Dennis does a good job. Flutie on 1st and 10. It's really go.
Good for a first down, picking up about 13 on the play. Doug Flutie hit his first 5 passes, then missed his last 3 until that connection with Willie Gault, as Jerry Robinson and Lester Hayes combined on the coverage. And Mike, you've said it, and I agree with you. Flutie has stood in there all day long. He's thrown, stood tall in the pocket, been sharp. I must say, if I'm Mike Ditka, it's a very difficult decision. I think I'd be tempted to keep Harbaugh, Flutie, and Tom Zach, especially considering almost inevitably Jim McMahon will go on injured reserve. But that's not our call. This is Flutie's call, 1st and 10. The handoff is a misconnection between Flutie and Payton. Flutie's running for his life. He slides out of bounds just in front of Stacy Torin, the safety for the Raiders out of Notre Dame. And he lost about 3 yards on the play. Those things happen every once in a while.
Well, if there's a knock against Doug Flutie, the thing that kind of irritates Mike Ditka sometimes is that Doug has problems sometimes calling plays that not necessarily exist sometimes. Now, I don't know if that was it's hard to believe that Walter Payton was at fault on that play. Doug, in many respects, still learning the Bear system, and it is complicated.
As is every pro system. A lot of extracurricular activity in the line as Walter Payton is tripped up, lunges ahead of midfield as Ronnie Washington tripped him up, but this play will almost inevitably come back as Payton leaves the game. There's an equipment problem, apparently. And you see Anderson leading him through on the draw play with laundry all over the place. Thomas Sanders has come in now to replace Payton as you got a good look at Howie Long. The meanest of the mean Raiders. Chip off the old John Matuzak block.
Except Howie's much more docile, better looking. He's on the cover of GQ, and
hey,
John Matuzak was on the cover of Mechanics Illustrated.
Everybody's better looking than Matuzak.
We have number 87, offense, illegally in motion. Number 75, defense, offside. Penalties are offset. Replay the down. Second down.
There you see the movement inside the line, and this play is going to be wiped out of the books. And the Bears are going to be second and about 13, second and 12 perhaps, on their own 47. Doug Flutie has gone all the way. They call him in the grass. That's going to go down as a sack. Sean Jones was the man down around Flutie's ankles, and you've got to get pretty low to get around Flutie's ankles. The Raiders the quickest to the quarterback. We all know that. That's one of the things they do very well out here.
Sean Jones was the quickest of the quick with 15.5 sacks last year to lead the AFC. Fourth-year man out of Northeastern.
The Bears still have the advantage in sacks in this game, but right now they have the Bears in a bit of a hole. 3rd and 19. Ball right on the 40-yard line. Flutie from shotgun. Very high snap. Flutie absolutely wiped out by Howie Long. Howie Long simply buried Doug Flutie's face in this Coliseum turf. He's still got a good throwaway to Dennis McKinnon, but it was incomplete. And the Bears will kick it away.
You talk about guts, too. Doug Flutie here has to take a high snap from Larry Rubens. Howie Long gets caught in that stunt. They're working a stunt on the right side. Keith Van Horn was his man originally, but they switched up a little bit. Yet Flutie somehow hung in there and got the throwaway.
Here's the punt from Brian Wagner now in for Maury Buford. Stephon Adams is the return man for the Raiders. He's got something going. He's up the sidelines and just out of bounds. On about the 42-yard line as Stephon Adams came very close to breaking it all the way for the Raiders, and a Bear is hurt. Thomas Sanders forced Stephon Adams out of bounds, and the Bear who is hurt on that 43-yard punt, 23-yard return. We're trying to get an identification. We're back live and we're in action as the Raiders connect on that first down pass play. Mervin Fernandez makes the catch and Reggie Phillips makes the tackle. It's a 12-yard gain and it's into Bear territory.
It's one thing that St. Louis's Neil Lomax had a lot of success with last week. Hit the quick passes, come right out of the box in 1st and 10 and go after the Bear cornerbacks.
I would assume, Mike, we might take a look at Mike Richardson before this day is over to see if he's ready to play next week against the Giants in Soldier Field. But really, Phillips and Jackson have done a good job on the corners, and here's Marcus Allen doing a great job of running. Close to a 10-yard pickup before Todd Bell finally brought him down. Great block from Todd Christensen, Marcus Allen. The super silky Raider running back.
I tell you what, every running back has a unique style, all their own, but if Marcus resembles anybody, it's his idol, the Juice.
Absolutely, absolutely. He really does look like the Juice Man.
Talk about games within a games. Here's the other side of the play there. Bestie Jackson and James Lofton going at it.
And here's Hilger going at it. And he's got Lofton. Lofton's been there many times before.
I'm sure Rusty's saying to his offensive line, hey, keep these guys out of my face. Give me a little bit of time. I'll hitch up to James. I'll hitch up to Mervin Fernandez. And we'll move the football.
And yes, that's James Garner. The Raiders have their own Hollywood contingent. It's perhaps not as glittering as the Rams following.
Or the Lakers following.
Yeah, I think the Lakers have the celebrity routine pretty much cornered. But these Raiders celebrities have a tough time figuring out where to go see the games. Is it Irwindale, Oakland, or L.A.? And this is an interception. Reggie Phillips. He's got room to run. He's up to about the 42-yard line. Mervin Fernandez, the intended receiver. Rusty Hilger, the victimized quarterback. A 23-yard return by Reggie Phillips. A great play.
Second time today. You know what? I got a kick out of listening to Gary Fensick at the beginning of training camp. Everybody's saying that the Bears have problems at cornerbacks. Gary said, hey, watch number 48. Don't concede his job to anybody, because he's gotten better as the years progressed. The third-year man out of SMU has done a great job.
Well, that's what the Bears needed there, as they now have it 1st and 10 on their own 41. It's still 7-7, 9:38 to play in the first quarter. Doug Flutie, the quarterback, throws the ball a little behind Willie Gault, and it's ruled an incomplete pass. Mike Haynes was on the coverage. Doug tried to aim that ball just a little bit too much. Willie was there.
Straight drop back. Actually, Willie, the secondary receiver, you saw Doug look the other way. Hard to tell from this angle whether or not the ball hit the ground.
You can see Willie scrambling around right there, picking it up off the turf. An obvious incompletion, and now 2nd and 10 for the Bears. Ball on their own 41. John Addix, a rookie out of Baylor, is the new center for the Bears. Oh, and here's Flutie in big trouble. He did manage to get it away with Payton in the vicinity, so they'll rule it an incompletion. But Greg Townsend was leading that charge in Flutie's face.
Greg Townsend working against the Bears' right side, Keith Van Horn and Kurt Becker. Van Horn got beat, and so did Kurt.
There you see Flutie's numbers, 6 of 11, 49, 1 and 1. And we don't see anybody throwing on the sidelines, so this first half is obviously Flutie's to make it or break it. 3rd and 10. Intercepted. Lionel Washington. Raiders football. Ron Morris was the intended receiver. Lionel Washington was the interceptor.
Watch it from the end zone camera. Number 96, Malcolm Taylor, working against Kurt Becker. He fights off the block, fights off the double team, and Lionel Washington steps right out in front of the Bear receiver to make the interception. So give credit to the defensive line on that one.
And that's the knock on Flutie, that you get a hand in his face. Well, you get a hand in any quarterback's face, he's going to have trouble finding a receiver. As the Bears and Raiders take turns giving the ball over to each other. 5 turnovers in about 24 minutes of football. 9:20 to play in the first half. Bears have the ball right on the midfield stripe. You take a look at Riley Walton over there among the Bear players. Riley Walton expected to see some action today, backing up Emery Moorhead. This is Allen bouncing outside. He's got about 3 or 4 yards. Give him 4. Bestie Jackson and Todd Bell were involved in the stop.
Todd Bell assisting on the play.
9:15 now to play in the first half as we take another look at the play.
Marcus Allen again with the style so resembling O.J. Simpson. The easy bounce outside. Doesn't look like he picks up too much yardage, and all of a sudden he's got 4 or 5.
And there you look at the glider. Here's Hilger.
Lofton can't handle it, but Bestie Jackson can. Another interception. This football game's on a yo-yo as Bestie stumbles up over midfield and gets it into Raider territory. And Marcus Allen made the stop after Bestie Jackson brought that one back 23 yards. That's 2 consecutive 23-yard interception returns by the Bears secondary. Mike, you're talking about Bear cornerbacks. They can't do much better than this.
Trading fall paws.
Phillips and Jackson with a pair of big interceptions. And a pretty swift return by Bestie, too.
Talked about Wilbur and Otis liking to run after they intercept the football. The Bear cornerbacks like to go for the downs as well. Second-year man out of Washington, Bestie Jackson. Bears ball now.
Well, just after we said this is obviously Doug Flutie's half, Mike Tomczak gets in and he flips it out to Neil Anderson, who picked up 3 or 4 yards before he was forced out of bounds. Tomczak's so hot he didn't need to
Leading quarterback this preseason.
Bears 2nd and 7 roughly. Ball on the 45-yard line of the Los Angeles Raiders. Tomczak flips to the other side now. Anderson's got some room. He cuts inside. Gets it up close to the 30-yard line for a pickup of 15 before Lionel Washington, who's been everywhere today, manages to make the stop. The Raiders would be in big trouble without the Washingtons, Mike. Ronnie and Lionel have really done a great job on their
Try to watch
defensive unit.
number 79, Kurt Becker. He's the man who made that play with a great block on Greg Townsend, number 93, allowing Neal to get outside.
And look at Willie Galt down there throwing a block. There's Jim McMahon. And in case you missed it, the medical report yesterday was really very uneventful, except to say that there's been some progress and they won't decide yet whether or not to put him on injured reserve. I don't see how they can avoid it. But here's Payton with a huge hole. Bounces outside. Finally dragged down from behind by Van McElroy. And Stacy Terrain was also involved in the stop, but Walter picked up 17 yards.
We talked about the adjustment that Neil Anderson has to make at fullback. One of those adjustments, of course, is the lead running back. See if we can pick Neil up out in front. He did a good job of clearing the way. Here's Neil in motion.
He is truly a great athlete, Mike.
Turns out Rod Martin's got him on the ground, or Jerry Robinson, rather. That's all you have to do.
Beautiful job. He played so well on special teams last year. He's a great, complete football player, and that's Walter Payton's longest run of the preseason. Here's Anderson cutting inside, but he has nowhere to run. As the Raider defensive charge stops him with at most a yard gain. Ronnie Washington was involved in there. You see Bob Bukowski, top draft choice out of Pittsburgh, who missed all last season. And then you see the Raider welcoming committee, and I wouldn't like to be welcomed by any Raiders.
Yeah, Raider defense still tough. They talked about this team being in the state of decline, only 8-8 a year ago, but nothing wrong with that Raider defense. They might be getting a little long in the tooth a little bit, but still a fine, fine defensive unit.
Anderson stopped cold at 2nd and 10. Ball's resting on the Raider 15. Tomczak on the bootleg. No good. Stacy Terrain was back on the coverage.
Number 82, Riley Walton, the intended receiver. Tight ends, one thing they have to do is be able to release and get free off the line of scrimmage. You see Stacy Terrain jacking him up a little bit. Tomczak's pass a little bit behind him, but I think he might have thrown that one away.
Bears have converted only 2 of 7 third down plays, but they're averaging 10.3 yards. They've averaged 10.3 yards to go, I should say. They've always had their backs against the wall in this situation. Oh, here's Tomczak. Throws it away, and he's lucky it wasn't intercepted. And had it been intercepted, the Raiders might have scored. Because number 43, Sam Seal, had absolutely nobody in front of him had he got his hands on that football. So a couple of nice running plays get the Bears close. But they won't get any cigars unless Kevin Butler can convert this field goal, and it'll be about a 32-yard attempt.
Malcolm Taylor, the man who made it happen there.
As you look at the time remaining in this first half, and then you're looking at Kevin Butler, And Mike, an interesting point to make about the Bears kicking situation. They have a new snapper, and they also have a new holder in Jim Harbaugh with Steve Fuller no longer around, and I think that's affected Kevin Butler so far. And it's no good. Kevin Butler has missed, and the Raiders have held on. The ball was wide to the right, and the Bears and Raiders are still sitting on a 7-7 tie with lots of football left from California. Iron Mike is in Hollywood, as are the rest of his Bears, tied with the Raiders at 7 with 6:30 to go in the half. It's the Raiders' worst starting field position of the entire afternoon, and that's right on their own 20-yard line. So the Raiders have had the best of the field position. Marcus Allen right at the line of scrimmage. Well, we have some extracurricular activity. Dan Hampton is involved in that one, although probably just as a peacemaker, right, Mike? Richard Dent, number 95, was probably the eye of the hurricane, as the Bear defense stopped the Raiders cold. Marcus Allen now 28 yards and 8 carries. And there you see, as Richard Dent.
Trey Junkin, the reserve tight end for the Raiders. They don't take no mess.
Well, that really got Dent fired up because he's got his hands all over Hilger. There's a flag on the play. And it appears Richard was so anxious to get back in there and prove himself that he jumped offside. And you're looking at Singletary.
Richard Dent from the stand-up linebacking position, and he'll come from that position as well.
He certainly did a good job whipping John Clay, the rookie for the Raiders.
John feet of Clay. He was standing still.
Number 25, defense, lining up in the neutral zone. It will repeat the down, 5-yard penalty.
So they called it on Todd Bell lining up in the neutral zone. Richard was not guilty. And he was certainly no Robert on that play. 2nd and 5 now on the 25. The Raiders get another break. Hilger. Lofton. Complete to the 38-yard line, picking up 13. Otis Wilson on the coverage.
That was a big league pass, Tim. Talking to Jim Plunkett on the sidelines before this game, he said, give this kid some time. As he gets more experience, has a chance to develop, has a chance to read more and more defenses, he's going to be effective.
I'm sure he likes throwing to a veteran receiver like James Lofton. He did a beautiful job of keeping both feet in bounds and making the outstretched catch. Raiders now have it 1st and 10 on their own 38. Closing in on 5 minutes to go in the half. Here's the half, and there goes Hilger. 4th Bear sack. Richard Dent led the charge, and he is inspired right now. Nicked a little bit. Hilger had no chance.
He's got one of the great first moves in football, but what allows Richard to come free is watching the play of number 72 and 99, Dan Hampton, in the fridge inside. They work those stunts to perfection. You try to double team those guys, and it always leaves somebody free. The guy they ought to be double teaming is Richard Dent, but he's just a little too tough for everybody.
Richard Dent out of the football game now with 5 minutes to go in the half. And the Raiders are looking at 2nd and about 18. And here come the Bears. And there goes the draw play to Allen. Obvious passing situation. The Raiders crossed up the Bears with a draw play. Allen picking up about 5.
The only man they didn't fool is number 50, Mike Singletary. He is trained to stay at home, redraw. That's one of his primary reads. He did. And made sure Marcus didn't go any farther than the 4 or 5 yard gain.
Giving him 5, 3rd and 13. The ball squarely on the Raider 35-yard line.
Richard Dent back in the game now.
The Raiders have yet to convert a 3rd down situation. Hilger going long. Todd Bell's there. The ball is just off the fingertips of the intended receiver. Todd Bell on defense.
The Raiders also have a very big cut to make coming up next Tuesday. As you look at Gary Fensick walk off the field, they, of course, have to get down to 45 players. And Trey Junkin, who was listed as the third-string tight end, didn't do himself any favors by dropping that pass from Rusty Hilger.
That was a tough attempt with Bell all over him. As you're looking at Stan Talley, the Raider punter will kick it away to Dennis Gentry. He gets the ball off. Gentry calling for the fair catch. Fumbles the football. It appears the Raiders have covered it. No, the Bears ball. Oh boy, Dennis got in there and scurried around and picked it up away from Trey Junkin. A 40-yard kick. And nothing on the return.
It's like rubbing your belly and patting your head at the same time. You got to concentrate on the football, but at the same time, be cognizant of the guys coming down to cover the punt. If you try to do both at the same time, you usually wind up doing that, which is fumble the football.
Gentry did a great job of recovering as he scrambled on all fours and just pulled it away from the number 87 in the middle of your picture, Trey Junkin.
It's like standing in the middle of the Dan Ryan during rush hour.
There's Tomczak back live, and Ball drops the ball again. Willie's having a rough day. That was a first down throw from Mike Tomczak right on the numbers.
Tim, I'll tell you, this game is not going to win any aesthetic awards in terms of being well played.
Yeah, but you can't ask for more than a tie score at this point. Really, the Bears are lucky, given the amount of times they've turned the ball away, that they are standing in there equal with the Raiders right now. Tomczak's 0 for 3, but he's had a couple drops, and that certainly was one of them. Bears with the ball on their own 29, 2nd and 10. Anderson and Payton are the running backs behind Tomczak. Payton with a carry. And he falls over the back of his blocker, Keith Van Horn. Or was that Kurt Becker? It was Kurt Becker, actually. And now we have another Bear shaken up, as the Bears once again face a 3rd and long situation. 3rd and 10 on their own 29. Jimbo Covert back in the game now in place of Blair. Tomczak going way up top. Morris is there, but so are 2 Raider defenders, and the ball is knocked away harmlessly. Lionel Washington and Van McElroy at Morris blanketed, and the Bears will kick it away. So a tough outing so far for Mike Tomczak.
Pick up the tail end of the replay. You can see Mike's trajectory maybe a bit high here. Ron Morris has to slow down a second, and it allows the defensive back time to make the recovery.
This is Brian Wagner kicking it. Stephon Adams has some room to run for the Raiders. He wants to come back to the wide side. Then he cuts over to the near side. And another flag on the play. Thomas Sanders was involved in the stop. 46-yard punt and a 10-yard return.
Penalty flag on the field.
And let's take a look at what happened.
Thomas Sanders brought him down.
This guy's a good kick returner, Mike.
Very good. See how he caught that with his fingertips and not his shoulder pads? That's usually why people fumble the ball. First takes good hand-eye coordination and depth perception to do that.
And it's a face mask call, inadvertent.
Which is 5 yards as opposed to 15. Watch Thomas Sanders reaching out.
And there's the face mask. It might have been more than inadvertent. At any rate, the Raiders have the ball on their own 42. Once again, decent field position with 3 minutes to go in the half. And we're still tied at 7. There's a pitching Allen. Play's blown dead. This one's coming back.
Bears showing blitz. Raiders Hilger checking off at the line of scrimmage, and that undoubtedly caused the infraction. Raiders.
You see the Raiders are taking over the ball, Mike, virtually at midfield.
False start, offense, 5-yard penalty, no first down.
And And so the call against the Raiders now gives them a 1st and 15 on their own 41. Marcus Allen and Steve Smith will be the running backs when Hilger brings the Raiders out of the huddle, which he does now. The Bears defense playing very soft on that play for a pickup of 16. Wilbur Marshall made the stop, very close to a Raider first down.
Mervin Fernandez listed as only a first-year player, but as you mentioned, Tim, he spent 5 years as in the Canadian League with the BC Lions. Mervin was the MVP up there too, and he's a heck of a wide receiver. They say all he has to do is learn the Raider system, and he could be a great one and may wind up being a starter here.
Well, the starters, as we said, had been Dokie Williams and Jesse Hester, but Lofton and Fernandez have gone all the way today, and they've done a great job. Here comes the Bear rush, but Hilger gets it away. Lofton was open.
Boy, Rusty Hilger, you saw his look of disappointment. He'd like to have that back again. You don't get too many chances like that. A wide open James Lofton, time to throw. Here's James giving him the out and up. Festy Jackson took the fake, bit it hook, line, and sinker. That's why James Lofton was wide open. Unfortunately, or fortunately for the Bears, Hilger couldn't get it there.
So it's now 2nd and 10, and the ball is on the Bear 48. There's Allen. Stuffed up inside, picked up maybe 3. It was a loose football. Bears seem to have it. Yes, they do. And you see the official signaling Chicago's way. We're heading back east. 4th turnover, as the Bears and Raiders have really played a sloppy first half. Dave Dewerson with the recovery.
I tell you, neither team can stand prosperity today.
Steve McMichael, Dave Dewerson,
and 7 turnovers.
That's really a phenomenal for the last exhibition game. Everybody wants to see a sharper performance than this, and the conditions are certainly no excuse. They're ideal. The 2-minute warning? No. Not hardly. 2:36 to play in the first half. Referees just want to talk this thing over a little bit. I don't know, Mike, maybe it's something about this relax. And the Bear possession stands. It's on their own 45, 1st and 10. And as I mentioned, just over 2.5 minutes to play in the first half. Tomczak pumps once. Great catch by Riley Walton. Riley Walton looking for a spot on this roster as Stacy Turan from Notre Dame makes the hit. And Riley picks up maybe 7 yards on that throw from Mike Tomczak, which was right there. The clock is rolling, and we're not going to get this one off. As the 2-minute warning will hit, the tie will stand. The Bears will come back with 2nd and 3. And as we've said many times, it's still all tied up. 96 apiece. And the turnovers are just about even too. So the Bears and Raiders, longtime rivals, playing to a dead standstill.
Well, Tim, not too many people forget that 1984 regular season game. The Bears won it 17-6. And the fact that Jim McMahon on the sidelines there, the knocked out with the lacerated kidney. David Humm knocked out. Mark Wilson knocked out. Ditka calls it the most physical game he's ever seen in his life.
A far cry from this one, which has been physical but mistake-filled too. And here's Neil Anderson, who, speaking of mistakes, he's coughed up the football, and the Los Angeles Raiders, scrambling around, have covered the football and picked it up. Rod Martin with the hit on Neil Anderson, and now the turnovers are even too. Holy mackerel.
From the end zone, Neil Anderson, the sweep. Jimbo Covert does a good job blocking out. Walter Payton with a lead block has his man down. Rod Martin, they can't get to him, and he strips the ball away. There's the Raider recovery. Turnover number 8 on the day. Now both teams are even in that department.
It's phenomenal.
Bob Bukowski with the recovery. last year's #1 draft choice. You see him talking to former Bear player Earl Leggett. Remember the Bears' '63 championship team. Great defensive lineman.
That gives the Raiders possession on their own 47. And here comes the blitz. Hilger can't beat it. He's down. Steve McMichael, 5th Bear sack of the half. Ming gets to him. That's a big turnaround for the Bears. The clock back in motion now after the sack. 1:45 to go in the half. And the Raiders on their heels now, 2nd and 19. It's almost to the point, Mike, who wants this game the least? Well, you know Neil Anderson certainly wasn't trying to cough the ball up. That was a good hit by Rod Martin. As Hilger's going to throw once more. Oh, no, he's not. Richard Dent in on the sack. Dan Hampton also putting on the pressure.
Richard Dent, number 95, is having a field day with the Raiders' #1 draft choice this year, John Clay from Missouri.
Chicago, their first time out.
Watch Dent on the right side of your screen there. Just a simple little move with his arm, and he goes right past Clay, number 78, for the sack.
Boy, he is feet of Clay. John's embarrassing himself out there, but he's playing against one of the best in the business. The Bears keep this up, they might be able to get a defensive touchdown of their own. You look at Steve Berline, the rookie from Notre Dame, who got in briefly last week, serving as apprenticeship here in California. And Fita Clay is coming over to the sidelines to discuss what, if anything, he can do to keep Richard Dent out of Rusty Hilger's back or face.
How about a magnum? I tell you, the Colonel is having John Clay for lunch this afternoon. He loves to see those untested rookies. Of course, Richard gives a lot of great veterans fits too. He's got that great first move. He's so quick.
And he's put the Raiders back now 3rd and 26 on their own 31-yard line. Boy, if this isn't a passing situation, I don't know what is. And here come the Bears again. This time it's my man Otis Wilson on the sack. 7 sacks for the Bears in this first half. And you can't fault Rusty Hilger on that, Mike. As you said, that's been the Raiders' story for a while. They just cannot protect their quarterback.
Timeout. Chicago, their 2nd timeout.
Raiders O-line, Timmy gave up more sacks than the checkout boy at the A&P last year, as I mentioned. Tough to be a Raider quarterback when you've got people like Otis Wilson and Richard Dent in your face all afternoon long.
The Bears have called 2 timeouts now to stop the clock. There's 1:14 left to play, and the Raiders are 4th and from here to Long Beach for a first down. So Los Angeles will kick it away, and the Bears will get one last chance to put something on the board before we go to intermission.
Thank you.
See, that Raider offensive line used to be one of their great strengths with people like Gene Upshaw and Henry Lawrence and Art Shell, who's now, of course, a coach for the Raiders. They've also been hurt by guys like Kurt Marsh and Mickey Marvin, and just recently Shelby Jordan, all starters. They're out for the year with injuries, and now they've started a couple of rookies, John Clay and Bruce Wilkerson, and it's hurt them.
Here come the Bears all out. Missed on the block. Gentry will return the Stan Talley punt. He's got nowhere to run. He's buried.
Trey Junkin,
Trey
number
Junkin.
87.
Great job. 45-yard punt for Talley, who's had a great first half, and no return. So the Bears will put it in play on their own 35. Here's Gentry. Nowhere to go. Just about a minute left now in this first half. And it appears a flag is going to bring the whole thing back.
Number 87, offense, downfield prior to the kick, 5 yards.
Well, let's see what Talley does with this one. The Bears are coming once more. They'd love a block right here.
10 men at the line of scrimmage.
The Raiders counting noses to see, well, oh, it's a low snap. He still gets off, and it's a nice kick.
And we've got another flag down.
Here's Gentry. He's got some room up the middle, but it closes in a hurry. Vance Mueller, one of the running backs, was in on that stop. That's a 42-yard kick and a 9-yard return, but as Mike mentioned, there's more laundry on the field. And the Raiders are hot. Looks like they've been flagged one more time.
I'll tell you, if it's Trey Junkin, he's going to get the yank.
No, I think it's 12 men on the field is our initial indication.
81, offense, illegally downfield prior to the snap.
Andy.
Penalty declined. First down, Chicago.
Andy Parker, the other tight end. Well, at least Stan Talley and Dennis Gentry are getting a lot of practice on their punting and their punt returns.
Well, isn't this unbelievable? Now even the penalty yards are the same. This is ridiculous. But the Bears at any rate are going to take the ball at midfield. Here's Tomczak throwing the ball out of bounds. So it'll be 2nd and 10, and there are 48 seconds to play here in the first half. Dennis McKinnon was the intended receiver, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar couldn't have gotten that one. I think Mike just wanted to get rid of it and stop the clock and get a better look the next play. Payton and Anderson are still the running backs. Tomczak under pressure. Wide open is Neil Anderson, but there's a flag on the play. Anderson's got a great game. But it's all going to come back, I believe. 34-yard gain on the pass from Tomczak to Neil Anderson, but bring it all back.
Well, they love Neil Anderson's pass receiving abilities too, although this one wasn't the most difficult one in the world.
10-yard penalty, repeat the down, 2nd down.
So Jimbo Covert is caught with his hands in the cookie jar, and that's going to negate a tremendous gain and put the Bears back on their own 39-yard line. So instead of having the ball deep in Raider territory, they're looking at 2nd and 20.
Raiders are in the prevent defense, were willing to give up short pass to Neil Anderson. They had no idea he was going to turn it into such a long gain, however.
That's the trouble when you give up a short pass to Neil Anderson, and it has a
way of
ability to be, that's right, to become a long one. He really does so many things to help this Bear offense. Here's Tomczak. He's got time. He's got Payton. He's got about 9 yards. An out of bounds stopping the clock with 32 seconds to play. Rod Martin pulled Payton down, stopping the clock, and now the Bears are 3rd and about 11, as the Bears have played 3rd and long the entire half. There's Doug Flutie.
Along with Jim Harbaugh. We'll see Jim a lot in the second half. Hard to really assess how Doug Flutie did. He had moments of brilliance, had moments when he wasn't so brilliant.
And he would have looked a lot more brilliant with the golf catch for a touchdown. Here's Tomczak. Pull down from behind. That's it. 3rd sack for the Raiders. Bob Bukowski, all last year on injury reserve, is obviously going to help out this Los Angeles team.
He was their #1 choice out of Pittsburgh a year ago. As you mentioned, out for the season, working against Jimbo Covert there. And number 54, John Addix. Bukowski, a real hard luck guy. They love him here.
Los Angeles, their first timeout.
So with 23 seconds.
A week ago, he missed 20 days with hepatitis, too. So last year, he had back surgery, out for all of 86, and then the hepatitis.
Well, he must figure at this point, Mike, all the bad stuff's behind him, because what else could go worse? Could go bad or go worse. And I think we could say somewhat the same thing about the first half. It's been entertaining, but it's been less than artistically elevating.
Mike Ditka, a man with a lot of decisions to make between now and this coming Monday when the final cutdowns are due.
This is Brian Wagner getting everything out of this punt. Holy muck. He drives Adams back into the end zone. Adams going to bring it out, and he is going to be finally dragged down on about his own 5-yard line as the Bears flirted with trapping him for a safety. That's a 60-yard punt for Brian Wagner. And I would imagine, Mike, that Maury Buford's stomach sank a little bit when he saw that boomer.
Well, I tell you, Brian Wagner might have won himself a job here. Watch the leg extension. The follow through, everything is perfect. 60 yards on a tight spiral. And usually what happens is you out-kick the coverage, but in this case the Bear defenders are all there. Stephen Adams really almost makes a mistake. He should have thought twice and down the ball in the end zone.
Very close to being trapped. The Raiders have 9 seconds, and I would imagine if they have any smarts at all, they're just going to fall on this one and prevent any kind of a turnaround. And that's exactly what Hilger does. As the time will expire here in the first half, you don't find a half of football more even than this one. Score tied at 7 apiece. The Raiders and Bears leaving the field. We got lots more exciting football action coming up.
The city of Irwindale, California, population 1,040, and the site of the Raiders' new home. Al Davis will build a 68,000-seat stadium, complete with expensive skyboxes in this 400-yard-long abandoned rock quarry pit. The Raiders presently operate at the L.A. Coliseum. Mayor Tom Bradley and the Coliseum Commission haven't given up trying to keep the Raiders.
I want the members of the Coliseum Commission to continue working as hard as they can to keep the doors of communications open, because I am of the mind that nothing is a done deal until they play their first game in some other stadium.
Sorry, Your Honor, tiny Irwindale has this battle won.
If the city of Irwindale cannot deliver the land that Mr. Rich asked about, they will forfeit the money that they have delivered to us up front. That is the fact now. No, there isn't. As long as they perform, they have to perform, and as long as
You'll never see a half more even. Time of possession virtually the same. Turnovers, total yardage. The only real disparity, the Bears have 7 sacks and the Raiders have 3. And Mike, maybe we're a little jaded. Maybe we're a little bit too spoiled. There were some moments of individual brilliance. You had some great catches, some good interceptions. Flutie had his moments. Willie Gault dropping a sure touchdown pass. So, you know, there's really a tremendously small difference between a spectacular execution and just barely missing.
I think you're right. Richard Dent had one good thing, and that it's always the Bears' constant, certainly the last 4 years, is that defense. And as long as they're up to snuff, I don't think Bear fans have to worry too much, and certainly the Bear defense is right on schedule.
Well, that's right. Now, how many times have they made the key mistake, but still we're sitting on a 7-7 tie? The Bear defense has kept the team in the game, and they always say that if you can play good defense, you always have a chance to win. They talk about, I see signs all over the Coliseum here, my commitment to excellence, and they talk about how the Raiders are the winningest professional sports franchise in America, better than the Celtics, better than the Yankees, better than the Orioles. You name it, there it is, the commitment to excellence. But Al Davis certainly doesn't make a commitment to any particular city or stadium, does he? That Irwindale gravel pit looks pretty weird. I can't imagine building in a town of, what do they have, 300 or 400 residents out there? A couple thousand.
1,038 is the latest population, the latest census taken. What's funny, Tim, is a lot of the Raiders don't even know where Irwindale is. I get the feeling that a lot of them would still, when everything is taken into consideration, rather be back up in Oakland.
Well, sure, that's where the die was cast. There was where the reputation was cut. The Oakland Marauders. Interesting thing, too, Mike, talking to the Raiders, they say, hey, the Bears only wish they could have our reputation. You know, they are the reputed bad guys of pro football, but I don't think the Bears have to apologize for their reputation as the monsters of the Midway. The Bears were playing football before Los Angeles even thought about it. But I have difficulty expressing my opinions on issues like that. As you take a look at, well, you did take a look at the Raiderettes. As you know, the Bears won the first half toss and got the football and immediately surrendered it to the Raiders. So this time the Bears will kick it away and hope that they can accomplish the same kind of thing. Vance Mueller is one of the Raider return men, along with number 23, Ethan Horton, and we've seen him, Mike, in action in these special teams. And that's Brian Wagner, the punter, who kicks it, and he kicks a beauty. Brian Wagner has just about nailed down a job with his football team. A 60-yard punt on top of a booming kickoff, and he can do it all. I'm sure Mike Ditka's very pleased with what he just saw.
Boy, I tell you, it's a real luxury, too. Anytime you've got a guy who can kick off deep and punt, you've got yourself a real bonus. It takes some pressure off of Kevin Butler, a guy who can kick the ball into the end zone. He doesn't have to worry about that anymore. He can just concentrate on field goals.
As we're bringing the whole play back, apparently the Bears were a little eager to get downfield under that booming kickoff.
And one teams really signed with the Broncos as a free agent, then came 2 weeks ago to the Bears in that trade for Stephon Humphreys, the offensive lineman from Michigan. And all of a sudden, Ditka said at the time, well, we didn't really bring him in to challenge Maury Buford just to get a look at him. And all of a sudden, he's not only challenging Maury, he may take his job. Who knows?
Kickers are like commercial actors. They move around a lot before they finally find a home. This kickoff is fumbled out of bounds. Brian Wagner gets another break, and so do the Bears. Ethan Horton was playing around with that football right around the 10-yard line, and he simply nudged it out of bounds, and the Bears get a break to open the second half. Not similar to the break that the Raiders got in the first half, but good enough.
See how fickle kicking is?
Well, they say they make it an oblong-shaped ball, and it takes funny bounces, and that certainly happened to Ethan Horton. As Mark Wilson, number 6, comes in to start the second half, and you'd think Bobby Douglas just ran in there, Mike, as the Boo Birds show the most emotion they've exhibited so far in this football game. I guess Marcus had some problems out here. Handoff straight ahead for a couple of yards.
Bears have their second team defense in and probably will go that way throughout the second half here. Obviously, guys like Mike Singletary, Richard Dent, Dan Hampton, Steve McMichael have nothing to prove.
Jim Morrissey made the tackle on Steve Strahan. And he picked up maybe 2, and we're looking at 2nd and 8 now. The ball on the 13, let's call it 2nd and 7. It's a tweener in between the 12 and 13-yard line. Here's Wilson to throw. He's got his man, number 84, Jesse Hester, with a nice reception. There was nothing wrong with the way that ball was thrown. 21 yards as Eric Jeffries, the Bear rookie, trying to stick as a cornerback, makes the stop.
I tell you, Mark Wilson really has all the tools. He's a little on the fragile side. He's rang up some big numbers over the years for the Raiders, but his biggest problem is that his touchdown-interception ratio last year and the last 2 years, Mark has thrown 35, and that just doesn't get it for Raider fans or Al Davis.
And that's when you get booed, is when you throw the interception. This one going nowhere as Morrissey trips up Vance Mueller. Mueller's a fine-looking running back. Morrissey did a nice job of submarining to knock the play down.
Getting Al Harris there, too.
Al Harris got to have a big day. It's hard to imagine him on the bubble, Mike. Almost an all-pro, tremendous performer, versatile, can play linebacker or defensive line, but the competition is stiff. And
Mike Richardson in the game now.
Absolutely. Mike Richardson, his first appearance of 1987 since, and he's going to get flagged. I think they're going to call him interference. Dokey Williams was the receiver. This is Richardson's first appearance since the Redskin game.
Isn't it amazing how quickly Mark Wilson picked that up? Mike Richardson hasn't played, as you mentioned, since the Redskin game. Right away, let's test him. And the Raiders did.
Illegal contact, defense, number 27, 5 yards, first down.
So a 5-yard penalty and a first down. They tested Mike and found him wanting on that first assignment.
Here's a guy who's missed all of preseason, all of training camp, hasn't played in 9 months. He's going to get a crash course today.
I don't care how many years you've done it. It goes away from you over a period of 6-7 months.
You know, all things being equal, I expect, Mike is probably the Bears' best cornerback, but Reggie Phillips is not about to give that job up, I don't think.
Well, you mentioned it in the first half, Mike. Reggie Phillips and Vesty Jackson have really done a creditable job. Vesty got burned a couple times that Lofton wasn't able to make the catch. But I think they're going to really give Mike Richardson all he can handle before he breaks back into the starting lineup. First and 10 now for the Raiders. Ball squarely on the 40-yard line. We're just underway here in the second half. This is Steve Smith cutting up inside, running into a wave of Bear tacklers. And picking up, let's see where they spot it, maybe Will Johnson was one of the tacklers in there. They're going to give him close to 5 yards as he managed to wiggle forward under the pile.
5-yard gain.
2nd and 5 as the ball's on the 45. Mark Wilson, the Raider quarterback, facing a contingent of largely second-team Bear defenders. Here's Wilson throwing quickly and hitting Hester, wrapped up by number 31, Jeffries, Eric Jeffries, the reserve cornerback. That's right up close to the first down stick. And a first down it is. Raiders on the march here early in the second half.
Eric Jeffries, the 12th round choice out of Texas. He too fighting for a spot on this roster. Bears will probably keep 7 defensive backs.
He's had a very good preseason, but we'll see if it was good enough. Steve Smith with the carry up ahead. That's exciting football. Al Harris with the stop. Big Al. 1 yard pickup, 2nd and 9.
Bears will also probably keep 7 defensive linemen too. And you know, Dent, Perry, McMichael, Hampton, they're the starters. That leaves 3 spots open for Sean Smith, Mike Hartenstein, Al Harris, Henry Wachter, and Steve Bryant. So 3 of those gentlemen will have to go.
It's hard to see Al Harris not making it, but we'll see what Ditka says. Here's the ball. Another flag is thrown down as Gary Fencik just missed the interception. Wilson overthrowing Jesse Hester on that play. And let's listen for the call.
Pass broken up by Gary Fencik.
Hester was open in the seam, but Wilson overthrew him. And it's going to go against the Bears, apparently. And apparently on Gary, judging from his reaction, Mike. At least Gary's saying it certainly shouldn't have been a penalty against anybody on this outfit. Come on, Dick, tell us what's going on.
Illegal use of the hands. Defense, number 27, hands to the face, 5 yards, first down.
Mike Richardson in prison again. That's 2 fouls in a row on Mike. Less than an auspicious beginning as he gets back into action here in Los Angeles. And this is his home turf, Mike. L.A. Richardson, they call him. Raiders first down now. Ball on the Bear 44. Smith picking up close to 5 yards before the Bear defense brings him down. And so far, at least, Mike, there's a dramatic difference in aggressiveness in this Bears second and first units on defense.
Well, they don't have the synchronization, the coordination that the Bears' first defensive is used to. Those people are accustomed to working with one another. Sean Smith hasn't lined up next to Mike Hartenstein all that much, so it's going to take some time, but you're going to see good individual effort.
I thought we'd see some mad dogs in there now. Wide open, but apparently out of bounds, and no catch was Dokie Williams. Working on L.A. again.
Dokie Williams, the intended receiver.
Well, I'm sure that, as you said, Mike, the instructions came in from the sideline. Go after Richardson and really make him work. And there's another flag down. Very sloppy football right now.
Holding, offense, number 42, 10-yard penalty, repeat the down, second down.
And this had to be somewhat unusual when a running back's caught holding. It's real simple. He's back pass blocking. How could they call him from holding there as he just got buried? Mike Ditka's going to bury some people too if he doesn't see some more execution here in the second half. And Wilson with all day to throw, wide open. Big play for Dokie Williams. Sticks his nose down close to the 25-yard line for a 24-yard gain. And there is another flag down here, and it looks like we're looking at it right there.
Watch Sean Smith, number 97, trying to work against Bill Lewis, the right guard for the Raiders, and Lewis won that battle.
Holding, defense, number 31, penalty decline, first down.
Well, I don't know if the refs were watching Lewis, but it seemed to me he had his hands all over Sean's shirt. But instead it goes against number 51 on the Bears. Number 31, Eric Jeffries, my error, excuse me. And the Raiders now are looking at 1st and 10 on the Bears' 26-yard line. We're closing in on 10 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Smith tries to get wide and does. Knocked out of bounds by Fensick and several others. 1st down, Raiders.
Steve Smith, the big rookie from Penn State, who was the starting fullback for the Nittany Lions national championship team a year ago. And we've got another flag, Tim. This is unbelievable.
It really is. Every single play has been flagged.
Holding. Offense, number 79. 10-yard penalty. Repeat the down. 1st down.
Bruce Davis, the starting left tackle for the Raiders. And that's a big break for the Bears because now the Raiders are looking at 1st and 20.
There's Davis working against Al Harris. Hard to see the angle here, but he may have Al's arm wrapped up.
Wilson with the handoff inside. Vance Mueller carrying up close to the 30-yard line. Close to a 6-yard gain. And now the Raiders will look at 2nd and 14. I like Mueller, a hard-nosed runner, especially been tackle to tackle.
Second-year man out of Occidental. Watch Gary Fensick here, and also Will Johnson, number 67 there to make the stop. Will Johnson, the rookie out of Northeast Louisiana, he too fighting for one of the Bears' linebacking jobs, backup jobs.
The Bears blitz, but they still don't get to Wilson, and they're going to surrender a touchdown as Dokie Williams has scored, burning Mike Richardson, and the Bears are on the bottom of a 13-7 score.
Welcome back to the National Football League. Mike Richardson, Dokie Williams working against LA. You really can't fault a cornerback for this. We got to remember that Richardson has been out. We got to remember that, you know, that it takes time. It takes a lot of time, and this is a preseason game.
Well, he's getting some valuable work right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
And there was no pressure on Wilson. The Bears brought some defensive backs on the blitz, and they didn't get to him. And Wilson had all day to pick apart the Bears secondary. So the Raiders are on top 14-7. There's 9:11 to play, and the Bears are going to have to summon up some fire and brimstone here to get back in this football game.
Well, the other thing
Live at the Coliseum, and this kickoff that you've seen the tail end of is going to come back as there was some below-the-knee blocking. We just can't get a play off here without some kind of a penalty. Now the referees are trying to sort things out. They pointed the Raiders' way, but why would the Raiders be blocking below the knees if they're kicking the ball away? Okay, Dick, what happened?
Personal foul on the kicking team, coming in and blocking low. 15-yard penalty. 1st down.
All right, so that's the verdict. And even though Tim Jesse got not much of a return, tack on an extra 15 yards, and the Bears will have decent field position. All right, let's take a look at what the Bears are going to bring out on offense now. We're going to see a lot of people that we didn't see in the first half. Glenn Kozlowski is in there, wide receiver.
ditto for the Raiders, too, on defense. Mike Tomczak still a quarterback, though.
Matt Suey is in the ball game. You see him as the up back behind Tomczak's right shoulder, and Suey goes in motion. Thomas Sanders with the football. He cuts inside and falls. Did not get back to the line of scrimmage. Jeff Barnes was in on the play. As you said, Mike, the Raiders are bringing in some of their reserves. And now the Bears, 2nd and 11. And the ball is right on their own 35-yard line. Sanders and Suey, the Bears runners. As you see, 11 plays, 89 yards, capped by Williams' 30-yard pass from Wilson. That's Kozlowski in motion. And that's Sanders with the football. Sanders, nice job before he's string tackled by Jamie Kimmel. Got him right around the shoelaces. 6 yards for Sanders, and now 3rd and 5, and a rare 3rd and middle distance for the Bears. They've been looking at 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15.
Matt Suey with a nice block there. You know, he talked about Matt maybe being on the bubble. I don't think so. First of all, I think the Bears are going to keep 6 running backs. Matt's far too valuable a player for the Bears to even consider getting rid of. I don't think his job's in jeopardy at all. He had a tough game, the 2 fumbles against the Cardinals a week ago. But that can happen to anybody.
Nice move inside by Neil Anderson. He's got breakaway speed. He just can't get by the last Raider defender, number 30, Stacy Turan. But Neil Anderson with a spectacular 27-yard run, and he's looked tremendous all day long.
Now that's the difference between Matt Suey and Neil Anderson. Matt can't do this.
Fabulous running moves.
Back against the grain. That little hop move is what got him free, Tim.
And you see Stacy Turan got the angle on him and knocked him out of bounds.
That's why Ditka's got to get this man in the ball game.
I'm sure he realizes that. And it's interesting now, he's got Sanders and Suey in the backfield, but he had Sanders and Neil Anderson. Here's Suey. Fights his way forward for about 4. And Jimbo Covert gets into it a little bit with Ronnie Washington. The Bears and Raiders don't like each other. We've said that many times during the course of this afternoon. Somebody is hurt for the Bears.
See him. 14-7 Raiders lead here in the 3rd quarter with 7 minutes to go. Bears have the ball at Raiders' 24-yard line.
The injured Bear was Thomas Sanders, whom Matt Suey fell on. And another injured Bear is up in the booth with us now, Jay Hilgenberg. Watching Tom Zach give to Tim Jesse with a nice move outside. Finally brought down by Sam Seal. But it looks like a Bear first down. As we take a look at the replay, Jay, how do you feel? You going to be all right?
Yeah, I'm feeling real good. I had a little test done yesterday, and I think everything's going to be fine. I'm looking forward to playing Monday night.
How's Paul Blair? Is he okay?
Yeah, he's fine. He had a little ding in the head. I told him everything's fine. I told him it was December 26th, last game of the year, and so he thought that was okay, and so he's all right.
Well, the game has been a little bit sloppy. Everybody knows that, but we're seeing some good things out of a lot of people. Tim Jesse rolled over there by Jeff Barnes and several other Raiders.
Yeah, well, we've made some plays out there, but we've had a lot of turnovers. That's what hurt us last year, and just hope we have to get that corrected by Monday night.
Are you surprised, Jay, it's been as sloppy as it's been?
We're trying to play a lot of different guys, so I'm not surprised about that, but it is kind of discouraging to see that opening kickoff fumbled, and with the starters having some turnovers like that.
And I'm sure you'll agree with so many guys fighting for jobs in the roster. Quite a few players are pressing a little bit.
Yeah, that's very true.
2nd and 8 now for the Bears. Ball just inside the Raider 15. Tom Zach has his receiver. No good.
Well, Tim, it's
Glenn Kozlowski couldn't make the catch.
You mentioned this earlier, the fact that it's been a case of a lot of individual brilliance, but they talk about football being a team game. Mike Tomczak throws this ball right on a string.
Tight spiral right in front of the camera. Would have been a great catch, but he couldn't come up with it. And now the Bears are 3rd and 8 on the Raider 13-yard line. Neil Anderson looking awfully good, Jay. I'm sure you would agree.
Yes, he's a great talent. He's very fast. You give him a little hole, he hits that hole so quick.
And the LA crowd is into this one. And that ball is in and out of the hands of Glenn Kozlowski. Lionel Washington on the coverage, and the Bears are going to have to try another field goal. That's the third drop, victimizing Mike Tomczak. And they're again just a hair away from getting the play executed properly.
Jay, what about your status for Monday night against the Giants? Was one of the reasons you stayed out of this game just precautionary measure, really?
I tried to work this week, and I had a little trouble with the shoulder, but it's definitely coming along. It feels a lot better, and I anticipate to work hard this week and be ready.
This is a 31-yard field goal attempt by Kevin Butler. Harbaugh with the spot, Butler with the kick, and it's good. 14-10 the score now as the Bears narrow the deficit with 5:11 to go in the third quarter. Bears trying to get a lot of things together, both on offense and defense. They're down by 4, a lot of football left. Quarter with the Bears kicking it away, trailing 14-10. Vance Mueller and Ethan Horton will be deep for the Raiders. Brian Wagner kicked off earlier and really boomed it. Let's see what Butler does. Not quite so deep, but effective. This will be Mueller on about his own 3. Not great speed, but elusive. And he gets it all the way up to close to the 30-yard line. Bestie Jackson was in on the stop. 27-yard return for Vance Mueller. That Bear scoring drive, 9 plays, 52 yards. It covered 4 minutes.
Asking Gary Fensick what he thought about going back to special teams. He said, as you see Gary there taking on the block at the bottom of your screen, it's ashes to ashes, dust to dust. He said, that's how I came into the league as a special team player. Maybe that's how I'm going to go out of the league, as a special teams player. But the fact that he's even on the field after so many great years as a starter is a real tribute to him.
This is Wilson handing off again to Smith. And the Raiders have been doing a good job on these straight-ahead running plays of moving the Bear defense off the football. How about it, Hilke? Are special teams fun, or the Hamburger Hill?
It's a way for a rookie to make the team. They're important out here, and you'll see a lot of these guys start to hustle a lot more as this game winds down, just to see something on film.
Everybody knows games are won and lost with the special teams. It's 1/3 of your output.
Yeah, it definitely is, and our coaches definitely stress that.
All winning teams do. This is Smith again. Tough runner. Picks up maybe 2 or 3. And the Raiders are really chewing up a lot of clock. They held the ball for almost 9 minutes.
Tim, the guy who made that play on Steve Smith there, Ron Rivera, number 59, he is Mike Singletary's backup. Hasn't got a whole lot of pub since being drafted number 2 out of California several years ago. But he's tough, he's aggressive.
Does a good job there.
And he might be a starter for a lot of other teams in the National Football League.
Here's Wilson. He has time, and he has a receiver. There's a flag thrown. Dokie Williams made the catch, but that ball was thrown back in the secondary. And that would seem to be bad news on the Bears unless Dokie Williams shoved off.
This is one of the few times this afternoon where the Raider offensive line has done a good job of protecting the quarterback. Of course, the Bears' second-team defense is in there now.
They could well be calling a push-off on Dokie against the rookie Eric Jeffries. He's looked pretty good, Hilke, I think, for a rookie cornerback.
Yes, I think they're pretty high on him. This is a big second half for him to look good, though.
And they're evaluating the call, I believe, on instant replay. Here's what the official found out.
I just got that feeling it's going against the Bears.
They're taking a second look, Tim.
3:33 left in the third quarter. With third down, we got threes all over the place. Quite a contrast.
Illegal contact, number 31 on the defense. Penalty is declined. First down, Los Angeles.
So Eric's the guilty man, and the Raiders are now enjoying a first down. Quite a change from the game 2 weeks ago against Pittsburgh, Hilke, when the Bears had everything going their own way.
Yes, it is. I don't know what it is, California or whatever. I think we'll be ready to go, though. It's a second group out there. They're playing hard, though.
Raiders 1st and 10 on their own 46. This is Smith up the middle. Rivera was in on the stop along with several other Bear defenders. Picking up about 3.
Al Harris on the tackle.
Raiders have become very predictable on 1st down. The last 7 times they've had the ball on 1st and 10, they have run at the Bears, and here's the 8th time in a row. They give us to Steve Smith, banging it inside. Will Johnson makes the tackle underneath.
The only thing positive you could say about that, it's eating a lot of clock to get this game over with, unless it gets a lot more exciting. Here's Wilson, and that's exciting. The 8th Bear sack. That gets the crowd up. Ron Rivera leading the Chiefs, playing a tremendous 3rd quarter, Mike.
They had a nice stunt there. Ron came up the middle, and Henry Wagster came, but he's handled it very well. He knows his role in the team, and he knows opportunity will be there someday, and he's just a hard worker.
And he can play in or outside. Here's Wilson under pressure. Great stop by Jim Morrissey.
And that's the other thing that hasn't endeared Mark Wilson to Los Angeles Raider football fans, and somewhat lack of mobility. He can scramble, but not all that well, and you can see that there's a dramatic difference between his ability to escape from pressure and the starter Rusty Hilger's ability to escape from pressure. And a nice play, as you mentioned, Tim, by Jim Morrison.
Boy, the Bears brought everybody that time. 4th and 22 now for the Raiders, as you get a good look at Jim Morrissey from Michigan State. He too fighting for employment. Veteran player, valuable. Stan Talley will kick it away for Los Angeles. It's a low kick, but it's going to drive Gentry back. Big boot by Talley. Gentry's going to try to return this, and he's in a lot of trouble inside his own 10. As Andy Parker, among several Raiders, was all over Dennis Gentry. A 61-yard punt, a 7-yard return. The Bears are down by 4, and when they get back, they're going to be in a very big hole here in Los Angeles. How's the offensive line looking? I know a lot of guys have been nicked. You and Van Horn and Blair. Everything okay? Is going to be all right for next Monday night?
I think so. We have a lot of depth on our offensive line. We have a lot of quality players, and I think we're going to be in good shape.
Tomczak's ball knocked away and falls short. Mike throwing from deep in his own territory. Ron Fellows involved with the coverage as Mike Tomczak gets up a little gingerly. Keith Ortego was out there as the intended receiver.
Jay, everybody's been praising the work of T-Zach, and to me it's apparent, and obviously he's going to start the game against the Giants on Monday night. There has been a dramatic difference between the Tomczak of 1987 and the Tomczak of last year.
He's just, I think he looked at all last season to see what happened. He upset he didn't play in the playoffs, and he just wants to come out and prove that he's the starting quarterback in the NFL.
He goes over the middle. No good. That was strictly a drop by Riley Walton. And that's the 4th time Tomczak's been victimized. Well-thrown balls that just didn't make it because the receiver didn't make the catch.
The case of Riley Walton, here's a guy who's got a golden opportunity with Tim Reitman out for the year with knee surgery. Right now he is number 2 to Emory Moorhead. You just don't drop passes like that and expect to make the football team. I'm sure Mike Ditka's going to pay close attention to the waiver wire next
That's one thing, Mike Ditka, when you're a Chicago Bear, every player gets an opportunity to play at Chicago, and you're given the opportunity, just you got to use it.
The Bears continue deep in their own territory, 3rd and 10, ball on about the 10-yard line. This is Anderson with the handoff, couple of nice blocks as Anderson tries to get outside and runs out of football field. Ron Fellows helped force him out, and the Bears are going to have to punt it away. You know, Tim Reitman is really going to be missed. He's out for the season. Sean Gale probably out for the season. The injuries are starting to mount already, but it really is going to hurt because Reitman was the guy you went to in a lot of clutch passing situations.
Not only that is that he was a very good blocker, too, and he will be missed. And it's just guys like Riley Walton who are going to have to step in and do the job.
Well, there's a look at the comparison of the Bear punters. Wagner's done a great job. This one's taken by Mark Patterson of the Raiders into the pack. That was a 37-yard punt by Maury Buford, a 7-yard return, so I hate to keep belaboring the obvious, but right now Brian Wagner has outkicked Maury Buford.
I'll tell you what, Larry Rubens...
It's hard to imagine that there aren't more injuries.
Yes, you know, football's a a funny business. You hate to see people get hurt, but when someone goes down, it opens the door for other people. And right now, this is a big opportunity for John Addix to see what he can do.
So a big opportunity. Football on the Bear 46. Up the middle of Mueller. Picked up maybe 3.
Hey, Jay Bird, thanks for stopping by, and good luck Monday night against the Giants.
Thank you very much.
Jay Hilgenberg, ladies and gentlemen, he'll be downstairs in about 25 minutes. It's a long hike down from the top of this Coliseum. Second and 8 is the situation. With only 40 seconds to go in the third quarter, Smith is graded by several Bears. Will Johnson was number 67, along with number 90, Al Harris, helping make the stop. He got nothing. Al looking good, Mike.
Big Al, about 275 pounds. Said it was a sort of a new lease on life for him when the Bear coaching staff told him to come in this year, and you're going to be a defensive end. Forget the linebacker for now. That's it.
Which is what he was in college, and they're going to let the clock run down, and that's the end of the third quarter, and I would imagine most of the fans would say good riddance. Not much happening as far as those 15 minutes were concerned, but we got 15 minutes left, and let's look for a great big finish out here in Hollywood. Back live in Los Angeles, the watchwords of the Raider franchise is commitment to excellence, and I don't want to keep harping on what may be a dead issue, but right now it's been a commitment to mediocrity in a rather lackluster football game. 15 minutes left, Bears trailing 14-10. And Mike, I keep harping back on this. I really think it has a lot to do with the fact that the Giants are coming up, and it's very difficult to get ready to play as a cohesive unit in a situation here.
You know, what the Bears have to worry about now is that some of the players that were injured this afternoon are going to be okay for that game against the Giants.
Well, there's some time to mend, a little bit over a week. Medical science does wondrous things in a short period of time in the NFL, and right now there's nothing Mark Wilson could have done about that, as the Bears have notched their 10th sack. Well, that's one thing you cannot criticize. The defensive rush has been fabulous for the Bears defenders. Jim Morrissey led the charge, and Wilson walks off the field. 4th and about 20.
Well, you can have a veteran offensive line, a veteran quarterback, and if you're not used to that Bear defense, and I'm talking about the old 46 with all those blitz possibilities, you're just not going to pick it up, and the Raiders didn't dare. 10 sacks.
I'm very impressed with the Bears defensive scheme today. Talley with a big kick. This is Eric Jeffries, who lets it bounce out of bounds. And the Bears will be pinned deep in their own territory.
39-yard punt. The man who replacing Ray Guy, looking very much like Ray Guy this afternoon. Ray, of course, retired this offseason and said that should the Raiders need him this year, should they decide that Stan Talley can't cut the mustard of the National Football League, he'll be ready to go. Just call me up as Jim Harbaugh takes over for the Chicago Bears at quarterback.
Mike Ditka almost called Ray Guy. But right now, Brian Wagner's been looking good. Let's hope the Bears don't have to punt on this exchange. Although that's no way to get it started. Little business up the middle as Jim Harbaugh takes his first snap of this football game. The Raiders have completely dominated the third quarter as we move into the fourth. 14 minutes to play in the game. Harbaugh very, very angry, Mike, after last Monday night's loss to the Cardinals. I thought he looked pretty sharp, but he had a number of passes dropped and wound up with 1 for 15, which was no reflection of how he performed, I felt.
I thought it was one of the best 1 for 15 nights I've ever seen. A lot of those, of course, the last 4 passes were done in desperation manner.
This is what he does well. He moves, throws back against, and it's intercepted. Sam Seal. So the rookie is picked off. Sam Seal, Lionel Washington involved in that interception as Washington still wants to get into it with a couple of the Bears. And there's a flag thrown. Let's take another look.
This might have been a case, Tim, where Jim Harbaugh would have been better off to run with the football and just take the loss if need be, rather than throw the football. He was off balance. He threw it behind Glenn Kozlowski. Koz got a hand on it, but just tipped the ball right into Sam Seal's hands.
It's hard to tell if Washington or Kozlowski, maybe both got a hand on it, but that's the tip drill that everybody works on in the NFL and college and high school. And Sam Seal has apparently given the Raiders the football as the discussion continues between the officials. Mike Ditka looking on. I don't know how we never know how Ditka's going to react. Whether he's going to chew some people out, whether or not he's just going to say, well, that's an exhibition game, let's move on to other things.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on Los Angeles, number 48. On Chicago, number 88. Both players are ejected.
Well, that's a rather severe penalty for Glenn Kozlowski and Lionel Washington. We know, Mike, that Kozlowski doesn't take no mess. He's a good friend of Jim McMahon's.
Tough kid out of BYU.
And fighting for a job. The Raiders are going to miss Washington. He's had an outstanding game in the secondary. But after all the ejections are history, the Raiders have the football in the Bear 25 and a very good opportunity to pad that 4-point lead.
Raiders 1-2 so far this preseason. Lost their first 2 games to San Francisco 42-16 and later to the Bills 7-3. Beat the Cowboys last week 34-10. So they have a chance to even their record. Of course, if the Bears lose, that would drop their record to 2-2 for the preseason.
Well, they're trying to get things set up now for the Raiders' possession. We need to remind you, as we have this lull in the action, that next Friday night we're getting ready for a big game between the Bears and the Giants. We've talked an awful lot about it, and we'll continue to talk about it after this play is over. As the Raiders have possession, 1st and 10. It's the 5th time they've taken the ball over in Bear territory as Steve Smith can't find much room to run. Maurice Douglas was in on that stop. There you see him, the famous male stripper.
Maurice Douglas. Harris on the stop.
Raiders are looking for a big fullback to complement Marcus Allen. They think they might have it in Steve Smith. Of course, they've had a history of the big tough guys like Marv Hubbard and Mark Van Egan, Pete Banaszak.
As I was saying just a moment ago, we want to remind you that from 6 to 8 there'll be a pep rally at the Daily Plaza, and I'll be there along with Mike, Jim Rose, and the Bears. And then at 11, live from the Hard Rock Cafe, the pep rally continues, and the football game continues too in just a moment. And there's the injured Raider, John Giesick, a reserve guard and center, and he's probably finished for the afternoon, and lucky for it. As the Raiders have the football, 2nd and about 8. Wilson wide open, and he overthrew Jesse Hester. There was a sure touchdown, and Mark Wilson just flat out missed him. My goodness, you won't get a receiver more wide open than that. Wilson ordinarily has been very effective or accurate so far this afternoon, but that one was just plain missed. And that puts him facing a 3rd and 8 situation from the Bears 23. And this one's off the receiver's fingertips. Dokie Williams was the intended receiver, and the Raiders are going to try a field goal. Nothing quite clicking on either side.
Once again, the Bears with one of their all-out blitzes, leaving Reggie Phillips in solo isolation out there, and there was enough pressure on Mark Wilson that he couldn't complete the pass. Here it is again. This is what it looks like if you're Mark Wilson.
A 41-yard field goal attempt coming up as the crowd is getting excited. They've had some extracurricular activities in the stands. I didn't think people in California got excited enough to fight.
Some of LA's finest about to give the boot to one unruly fan as Chris Barr is about to give the boot to this potential field goal attempt.
He missed from 23 yards, and let's call this a halt as Christensen comes off the field as the Raiders make some adjustments on their field goal team. 12:56 left to play, 14-10 the score, and mass confusion on the field and in the seats. New football, that was the secret. Fans are furiously booing the police off our camera shot. And there goes the kick, and it's good, as the Raiders now lead by a touchdown. 17-10, 12:52 to play. The Bears still have a chance to salvage all this when we come back. Here, he's hurt. The Bears have taken a real beating from the Raiders, and they're taking a beating on the scoreboard, 17-10, as Chris Barr kicks it away. And it's a good kick, as Tim Jesse returns it and gets it up close to the 30-yard line. Chris McLemore was involved in the stop. And let's see what the Bear offense can do in this situation. One thing we can say, Mike, a totally gorgeous day here in California. The weather is perfect, even if the football is not.
Tim Jesse, the man who just returned the kickoff for the Bears, will stay in the game at one of the running back positions, along with number 33, Calvin Thomas. And this is Jim Harbaugh's second series.
The last series led to an interception and a Raider field goal. It's a straight ahead handoff. Calvin Thomas with the carry, picking up 3 or 4 yards, make it 4. Mitch Willis was involved in the stop. We've seen a lot of him today. You see him right over the center.
And nice work by number 54, John Addix, now playing center.
It looked like Willis handled him, but he did manage to get him.
He made the cutoff block, and that's
right. Pushed him back, 4-yard pickup, 2nd and 6. Once again up the middle. This time not so much luck for Calvin and Mitch as the duel continues.
That time Mitch Willis won the battle hands down. Poor Addix was in Harbaugh's lap before that play was over. Watch it again. Number 54, center of your screen, just gets the ball off. Boom. Hello, Mitch Willis is in the backfield.
He's an impressive looking defensive lineman.
He's 6'8", 275 out of SMU. Raiders have some superiorly large defensive linemen. Sean Jones is 6'7", Willis 6'8", Malcolm Taylor 6'6".
Flutie could throw the ball into their armpits. Those guys towered above him so much. Here's Harbaugh going up top. Ball is knocked away. Nice defense. Number 92 for the Raiders, Pat Miller, was involved. Outside linebacker. Dennis McKinnon, the intended receiver. You hate to criticize in a situation like that, Mike. There just wasn't quite enough on that ball.
Plus, Jim Harbaugh got a little high snap from John Addix.
That was well thrown. It was just a great defensive play by Pat Miller. Brian Wagner will now punt for the Bears, who got absolutely nothing done on that possession. Mark Pattison is back deep for the Raiders. It's pretty hard to beat that average of 50.7 yards a punt. And this is a beautiful high spiral. Fair catch by Pattison on his own 24-yard line. A 43-yard punt with no return, and the fans don't like that. They want Pattison to take the ball up a couple of yards after he made the catch.
And based on his performance this afternoon, number 15, Brian Wagner, might have won himself a job, Tim.
Which would mean he'd be kicking in the next Bear game, and that's the one we've been plugging all day long, and it certainly bears another mention. Channel 7 will bring you the Bears and Giants, the defending Super Bowl champions. It'll be live from Soldier Field, a season opener. ABC's Monday Night Football. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf, How could I kick Dan's name? Great guy like that. It's Monday, September the 14th, and it's on Channel 7 here in Chicago. As Steve Berline is in quarterback, the rookie from Notre Dame. And Steve Smith, another rookie with an impressive run. And you said it, Mike, the Raiders very predictable on first down. Nobody's finessing anybody today.
Might be a function of Raider coaching staff wanting to get this one over with.
Well, I don't blame him for that. And also, since these teams do meet later on in the regular season, nobody's going to be overeager to show any real new wrinkles. Of course, by the end of the season, they will have seen it all anyway. There's Berline. A checkered career at Notre Dame, but still the most prolific passer in school history. Went through Lou Holtz and Jerry Faust. Vance Mueller with the carry. The clock ticks on, 10:20 to go. We still got a football game, though. It's 17-10.
Watching some of the second teamers play here in the fourth quarter, Tim, I'm reminded of the possibility, and let's hope it doesn't happen this year, of an NFL strike. The fact that many clubs have already offered some of the rookies that they have waived already $1,000 bonuses to retain their rights. Should the stars walk out, the NFL plans to go about their business, and the football game may very well look something like this. Maybe the caliber not as good.
Berline gets it away, but Maurice Douglas made a very good defensive play for the Bears. Andy Parker was his intended receiver. I like Maurice Douglas, and not just because he takes his clothes off in the offseason. He's a pretty good defensive back who
Tim,
can play
that's
corner.
about the third time you've mentioned that this afternoon. I'm starting to wonder about
I have a problem, I admit it. But he's a safety and he's a cornerback. He's versatile, and he's a good football player. I don't care that he wears an earring. Eric Jeffries, another cornerback, will return this punt, we think, from Stantali. High floating punt. And Jeffries wants the fair catch and gets it back close to his own 20-yard line, and the Bear offense will try and get back in this football game. A 50-yard punt, Bears down by 7.
The only thing that hasn't happened today, and it just did. An invalid fair catch signal.
Can't even call a fair catch signal correctly, and that cost the Bears a few. They're now sitting 1st and 10 on their own 16-yard line. Harbaugh. Nice catch by Keith Ortego. Number 89, Keith Ortego, getting a chance to show what he can do. Harbaugh plugged it up there. The first down stakes. James Davis on the defensive play for the Raiders.
This is only the third pass the Bear quarterbacks have completed in their last 18 attempts.
They spotted the ball just short of the first down, so it's 2nd and 1 now. This is an interesting situation for Harbaugh. A lot of things he can do here. And he's going to throw it. And throw it well. Jesse. Jamie Kimmel was on the stop for Los Angeles, and the Bears have a first down and perhaps something going.
Look at Jim Harbaugh, straight drop back pass. One of the things that's different for Jim is in college he turned his back to the line of scrimmage with a lot of that sprint out action. Now he gets a full view of the field, and it's a difficult adjustment. That time he found Riley Walton open for 6 or 7 yard. Good for the first down, rather.
Riley Walton masquerading as Tim Jesse. Here's Harbaugh, has a lot of time, but not enough. As he managed to lunge forward. Mitch Willis has been all over the place, and he had his arms around Harbaugh's hips. Jim lunged forward, picked up maybe 2 or 3.
Looking, and finally he's got to just take the loss.
He's a very good scrambler, big guy, effective runner, obviously a good future in the NFL, but as we know, very difficult for a rookie to contribute a great deal of quarterback in his first couple of years. But everybody knows he's here for the long run. And he's ensured a job. Nice pass to Ortego, up over midfield. Ronnie Washington was back on defense, a 15-yard gain. Nice looking throw by Harbaugh.
The best of his many great attributes really is his leadership ability, Tim. He does have a strong arm, stronger than a lot of people thought he did. But it's his moxie and his field demeanor that makes people really stand up and take notice.
I agree, and he showed what he was made of in that first inter-squad scrimmage when he stood up to Dan Hampton and Richard Dent and grabbed him by the shirt. That's Calvin up front, picking up 3 or 4 yards in the middle of the Raider defense. Mike Wise was involved on the stop. I like Calvin Thomas. I know Mike Ditka was all over him at the beginning of camp to trim some weight, just like the fridge. A guy that big and that fast is a very valuable ball carrier and a good blocker too. One of the many talents in the Bear backfield. As the clock winds down to 6:20 to go in the football game, Jim Harbaugh has the Bears on a modest march at this point. The Raiders back off the blitz. And Harbaugh hits, and this time it is Jesse. And Washington makes the stop, and the Bears have another first down.
You know, there's a possibility, Tim, that this entertaining contest could go to overtime.
Hey, that's all right. You know, a lot of people complained last week or this past week about the Cardinal game being a snore and a drag. It was an exciting game when it all got down to it. I mean, my buddy Ray Sons in the Sun-Times was saying the game should have been put out of its misery a long time. Well, Bear fans get spoiled. When you go and win your Super Bowl, it's very difficult to please Bear fans sometimes, or Bear critics.
That game was a Picasso compared to this game.
Well, there's a Raider in the neutral zone, and there goes the laundry. Don't hurt him. Yeah, don't get too excited either, Ronnie Washington. He's real happy about that sack, but I don't think that one's going to count.
Number 90, Mike Wise, was the man who jumped off sides first. There he is.
He's another one of those giant defensive linemen, Mike, from Cal Davis. He's 6'7".
Offside defense, number 90, 5-yard penalty. Repeat the down. First down.
Mike Wise was not a little foolish on that play. Not so wise at all. But a big, tough physical specimen, as are a lot of the Raiders. Very good defensive situation here in Los Angeles for all the Raiders. But so far, the offense has been less than spectacular, and the Bears have the same problem. Well, there's a nice catch by Morris, who's back in the football game. Sam sealed it up. And the Bears, picking up just a couple on the completion, now are looking at second and about 2.
All right, Jim says, Ronnie, give me about 4 yards, do the quick little out, and I'll get it out there for you, and he does.
The Bears have got a new tight end in now, Ed Taggart from Ohio State, getting a chance to show in the final 5 minutes of this game what he can do. Not much time. Calvin straight up the gut for a big gain and a first down. Ronnie Washington finally dragged him down. And just as you prophesied, Mike, the Bears are in a position to tie it all up. Calvin's hard to bring down when he gets some momentum.
I just think at some point, Tim, and Johnny Roland coined the phrase, we're going to see the Bears elephant backfield in there. When the fridge gets down to weight, him and Calvin Thomas, it could be devastating.
Harbaugh fakes the pitch, rolls right, lofts it out. First down, Thomas Sanders. Tim Jesse, my error, Tim Jesse. 12-yard pickup and a first down.
Tomczak fakes the pitch, rolls right, and had the Raider defense fooled on the play. Jesse, if he could have broke that one tackle, he'd have been in for 6, and we would have had a tie ball game, providing Kevin Butler made the extra point.
Well, you said it. Jesse played at Auburn behind Brent Fullwood and Bo Jackson. As we look at Tom Flores, the suntan Raider coach, Jesse never had a chance to do much in college, but he's getting a long look here today. Harbaugh hesitates and is lost. Malcolm Taylor led the Raider charge. About a 5-yard setback for the Bear offense.
So Mike Wise was there, number 90.
Harbaugh's going to look at, well, let's see, the officials are conferring. Apparently an infraction against the Bears. But we'll find out for sure. Harbaugh had some time, but he ran out of it in a hurry.
Malcolm Taylor, 96.
Illegal substitution. Number 93 did not report as an eligible position. Penalty is declined. It's a second down.
Look at Earl Leggett. We mentioned him earlier, a great Bear defensive lineman in the 60s, now defensive line coach of the LA Raiders. He's not the only ex-Bear on the Raider staff. Charlie Sumner, their defensive coordinator, Bear defensive back in the late 50s.
Ex-Bears are everywhere. Current Bears are right now on the Raiders' 17-yard line. And now we had a Raider moving over, but he is going to insist that he was drawn off. And let's see what the arbiters decide here. And they're going to send Los Angeles back 5 yards, it appears.
Encroachment, defense, number 96, 5-yard penalty, second down.
So Malcolm Taylor, the Raider who jumps off sides, giving the Bears the ball at the Raiders' 13-yard line. Stepping out there, the left tackle, number 74 and 62 at left guard, Mark Bortz. They played the whole game, Jimbo Covert and Mark Bortz. Unbelievable.
That's the 17th penalty of the game as Harbaugh's in trouble, runs into the route, turns around and throws it. Oh my goodness, right off Calvin Thomas's fingertips. That would have been a miraculous recovery. But Harbaugh showed tremendous moxie there, Mike, in bouncing off the ref and getting what was almost a touchdown pass off.
Number 91, Ronnie Washington, was the man who applied the pressure. There he comes inside. He avoids Tim Jesse's block, and there Harbaugh runs into the referee. There's Washington in his face, and Lyndon King almost tipped the ball and certainly disturbed Calvin Thomas enough to make him drop it.
Well, there again, Harbaugh victimized by the drop pass. We're 5 seconds away from the 2-minute warning. The Bears are 13 yards away from a touchdown. 3rd and 11. Harbaugh has time. Finds Calvin. Calvin bowls over one tackler, but he's brought down just short of the first down by Sam Seal. As we're going to have a 2-minute warning here, and the Bears are going to have a very interesting situation depending on where the officials spot. Here come the Bears. A minute 57 left in the football game. The Bears down by 7. Nobody's left the Coliseum, at least not too many people. Is the outcome very much in doubt? This is going to be a tough spot. I think he lunged enough to get the first down, but it all depends on where the officials spot the football.
Calvin had the good surge behind John Addicks' block, number 54.
Pretty hard to stop Calvin Thomas when only a yard is necessary. But here comes the all-important measurement.
Sam Cook's favorite people, the chain gang, right?
Yep. We haven't seen them out there a lot today. And as you mentioned, that's about all we haven't seen. We've seen it all, everything. Oh, brother.
Oh.
That's it, a first down. Bears are still alive. He didn't make it by much.
Okay, watch the surge. Calvin Thomas, good body lean, slices his body sideways, and actually some second effort allowed him to get away from the head tackle by Stacy Turan.
83 yards, 15 plays, and a long time of possession as Jim Harbaugh has engineered the Bears into a position where they can tie it all up and send us into overtime. 1st and goal. Oh my gosh, the fridge is in motion. The fridge is going to cost the Bears 5 yards. They slipped the fridge in there on us, and he was a little eager to get into the defensive line to deliver the blow. And now we got a whole new situation. First and goal from the 6, a lot different from first and goal from the 1.
Well, there he is.
Illegal motion on the offense. 2 men moving at the same time.
Fridge would have been okay.
First down.
Fridge would have been okay if he'd have taken 1 step and then moved parallel with the line of scrimmage, but at 326, 1 step easily turns into about 8. Forward lean.
Well, and the Fridge is taking his place behind Mike Ditka on the bench now.
I bet you Mike gives him another chance if they get down there.
I hope so. Now Harbaugh's got to throw it on first down. Oh, and it's almost intercepted. Stacy Turan had nothing in front of him but a goal line, 100 yards away.
Harbaugh is furious, too. He is claiming that his intended receiver, number 84, Ron Morris, was interfered with. See Mike Tomczak getting the signal from Mike Ditka and sending it in to Jim Harbaugh. Here's the play. Let's try to pick it up. They say that what Jimmy saw earlier, prior to that last bit of replay, was Stacy Turan interfering with Ron Morris.
There you see the rundown on the Bear quarterbacks. Mike's had a rough time, Tomczak that is, but he's had some key balls dropped, as has Flutie. Harbaugh's looked very good, especially in this last drive. He's 2nd and 6. This one is thrown behind Riley Walton, no good. He was open, but he was missed. And now it's 3rd and 6 with 1:20 left in the football game. The same situation, Mike, that Harbaugh faced last Monday night against St. Louis.
And how many times do we see this happen, Tim? Technically, this play is illegal. You can see real quickly there, Ron Morris running essentially that pick play, clearing it out for Riley Walton. Didn't clear it out good enough, and I don't know, might have been a ball Riley could have caught.
It appeared the ball hit Riley in the back. It was difficult to tell.
Mike Tomczak now in instead of Jim Harbaugh.
Now that's an interesting switch. Right in the middle of this sequence, or at the climax of it, Tomczak hits his receiver. He almost gets in, but it's... Oh my goodness, they call a touchdown.
But there's a flag on the play.
That's worth another look. Nice pass by Tomczak, and a last-minute lunge has apparently netted Riley Walton and the Bears a touchdown.
Preliminary indication is that the penalty was against the Raiders. Let's watch it again. Tomczak was eyeballing the tight end Riley Walton all the way. Now watch this second effort here. Riley working his way, trying to get free. All that ball has to do is cross the plane of the goal line, which is any part of the white.
I don't know. Usually don't give him the advantage there when he's obviously extending the ball way beyond his body. But we'll take it if that's the way it's going to turn out. And if Kevin Butler converts this extra point, we've got some more time to play football, Mike, here out in Hollywood.
Defensive holding. Number 43, penalty decline, touchdown Chicago.
Right on the money you are, Mike. The holding penalty is no go. And the fans are really agitated, as they can see the replay here on the big screen at the east end of the Coliseum, and nobody here agreed that Riley Walton scored, but the officials did, and they're the ones that count. Tie football game. 17-17, 1:13 to play. Nobody can get inside Mike Ditka's mind, Mike, but what was he thinking? Harbaugh out, Tomczak in, an interesting call.
Well, you got to remember that Mike and Mike Tomczak had been talking along the sidelines, conferring with plays, sending plays into Jim Harbaugh.
After these 1 minute and 13 seconds expire, although we don't know, it's all knotted up at 17.
I'll tell you, Tim, if it does go overtime, it's a great chance for a lot of these rookies who maybe haven't played as well as they would have liked, or at least that's what they're thinking anyway. But I have to really feel for veterans like Jimbo Covert and Mark Bortz, who have been on the field all afternoon long without a break.
Well, Butler kicks it away. And a good return out of Ethan Horton, 31 yards, and the Raiders have time to get it into position for a game-winning field goal. The Bears covered 84 yards in 16 plays, and they held on to the ball forever. 8 minutes and 21 seconds. And you mentioned rookies redeeming themselves, Mike. I don't know if Riley Walton ran the wrong pattern earlier when he got in the way of Morris there, but he got the ball later and got it into the end zone, and it was a terrific effort.
Kind of similar last week against the Cardinals. Didn't particularly have a great game, but he did catch a touchdown pass.
So maybe Riley Walton is our big play guy. Bears need some big plays. Here's Berline throwing a long one. Oh my goodness, almost intercepted. Intended for Mark Patterson, as the Bears had good coverage on the play. Maurice Douglas and Reggie Phillips were back. And that one ate up just a couple of seconds, so it's 2nd and 10 with 57 seconds left in the football game. Los Angeles with the ball on its own 33-yard line. And this is a handoff to Mueller. He's trying to get wide. There's a flag on the play. Mueller gets a long gain, but it may all come back, and I think it will. 17 yards, wasted by a holding penalty. That one ate up 8 seconds, 49 seconds to play.
Holding, offense, number 67, 10-yard penalty, repeat the down, 2nd down.
Once again, an offensive lineman. He's caught with his hands in the wrong place. And you see him right on the left of your screen, and he really wraps up that Bear defender. It's quite obvious why Mueller was able to break free. And now Berline is looking at 2nd and 20. And Mueller gets the ball again, but not for long. In the bottom of that pile was number 69 for the Bears, Jay Norvell. And Mike, you're high on him, safety in Iowa and making the switch to linebacker.
Chicago, their first timeout.
Well, the Bears have called some timeout to perhaps save some clock and get a chance to win this game in regulation time, but we do want to remind you once more that the big one's coming up Monday night, and Super Showdown gets the whole weekend kicked off on Friday from 6 to 8, a pep rally at the Daily Plaza. Tim Weigel, that's me, Mike Adamley, Jim Rose, all the Bears, and at 11 o'clock live from the Hard Rock Cafe, the pep party or pep rally, however you like to put it, continues on Channel 7. The Bears, Mike, me, Friday night at 11, only on 7. As Steve Berline comes back into the game, 3rd down and a long ways to go. The Bears would like to put the clamps on this play, call another timeout, and get a chance to win it before we go to overtime. Ball's on the Los Angeles 25. Berline's not going to get it off. Steve Bryan from Oklahoma was back in there for an 11-yard Raider loss.
First time we've seen Steve Bryan all afternoon. Haven't really seen much of him all this preseason. As Berline leaves the game holding his left arm, might be his left wrist.
And that's the 11th Bear sack.
Timeout, Chicago.
Okay,
the 2nd timeout.
The Bears stop it one more time, 37 seconds to go. And 1 or 2 big offensive plays could possibly put him in a position to have Kevin Butler win it with a field goal, but we have to bear in mind that the Bears will be going with the wind in their face. Stan Talley, on the other hand, will kick with the wind to his back. Well, the Bear defensive charge has been one aspect of the game above reproach. They have really put the heat on.
Really make a strong case for the merit of this afternoon if somehow the Bears manage to pull this game out either way in regulation or in overtime. What a psychological lift it'd give to this team. A long West Coast trip, sweet ride back home, let the wounded get well and get ready for the Giants.
And there are all sorts of ways of looking at it, but a real crisp, sharp performance in this situation might not be the best thing for going into the big game Monday night against the Giants. This looks like Dennis McKinnon covering that ball up on the punt return. That was Silky D, as they call him.
Tell you
Getting
what,
up to about the 38-yard line.
there was a time earlier in his career when Silky D was a Bears main punt return ace, and a darn good one too.
56-yard punt by that man, Stan Talley, an 11-yard return by Dennis McKinnon, and the Bears have 25 seconds to try and get across midfield and win the football game.
To realistically, Tim, go 30 yards. They're even less than that. Actually, about 28 yards would put them into field goal range.
They're spotting it on about the 39-yard line of the Bears.
Go 20 yards, 20, 25 yards. They got a shot.
Jim Harbaugh quarterbacking again now from the shotgun. Looking upfield, steps up inside, gets free, almost tripped up. He's making it for the sidelines and cuts inside, close to midfield. 11-yard pickup, and will the Bears call a timeout? Yes, they do. That's it. 14 seconds to go, and the Bears have burned their last timeout.
Their third timeout.
Mike Wise and Ronnie Washington putting the tape with 14 seconds to play. Ball is right at midfield. Harbaugh gets the snap.
Oh!
Through one to receiver's hands and to another for 16 yards. Dennis McKinnon was the receiver. And they're going to bring it in now to the 34-yard line. Lyndon King was the defender. There are 7 seconds left in the game.
This is a great piece of concentration by Dennis McKinnon. It goes through one Bear receiver's hands and right into Dennis's hands. He kept his eye on it, kept his body in bounds, and rolled out with 7 seconds to go.
And they think this is not close enough for Kevin Butler, so Harbaugh will try one more play from scrimmage. 7 seconds are left. There's
one
the
more
snap.
quick out, one more quick out. Take it out of bounds. Oh!
Well, he caught the ball, but the clock keeps running, and that's all the time the Bears have. Ron Fellows almost made the interception that would have turned the entire game around, because he had nobody in front of him.
Oh.
But the Bears and Raiders have played 60 minutes and have reached no decision. It's 17-17. We're going to play some more football in Los Angeles.
Take a look at it one more time. Harbaugh.
Ooh, that's close. You see Fellows right along the sideline. Harbaugh might have been able to catch him on the angle, but a very good chance Fellows could have taken it all the way in to end the game with a Raider victory.
There's the thing now. McKinnon rolls out of bounds before the clock had actually expired, and I think what the officials are doing right now is checking the instant replay to see if maybe one tick is left on the clock. And that's certainly what Tom Flores was talking to the referees about.
And if that is the case, then Kevin Butler has a very makeable field goal.
Certainly more makeable than what he had from before.
His 2 previous efforts this afternoon, or if you're in Chicago.
In the grand scheme of things, we're going to listen to
Dick Hamtack,
the official ruling here. The field.
That looks like what I think the referees are saying. Hey, look, is there a way we can get this thing over a little earlier and fudge the rules just a little and give them a shot at the field goal?
I tell you what, if Kevin Butler is allowed at an attempt to win this game in regulation and does make it, he will be the most popular guy. The MVP. Here it is again. Rod Fellows with the tip.
All right, 1,000.
Dennis McKinnon rolling out of bounds, and in this particular replay, we don't see the clock, but the other one clearly showed that Dennis got out of bounds before time had expired. So apparently, Kevin Butler will be given a chance.
A 42-yard field goal attempt into the wind. And I don't want to be too facetious, but do you suppose the Raiders might just not rush and let him get a clean shot at it? Nah, just kidding. Hey, these guys really, we kid around, but they want to win this football game, even though it doesn't count in the standings. It means a lot. And that's why Tom Flores is in there arguing strenuously to maybe dissuade the officials from their ruling.
There was an inadvertent whistle on the play. However, after further review, as the man is rolling out of bounds, there is 1 second remaining on the clock. We'll have one snap.
And the Los Angelinos are outraged. They wanted more football. Well, they may still get it if Kevin can't connect.
Well, the ball is spotted at the 32, so that will mean a 42-yard attempt by Kevin Butler. And you see his stats on the day. He's been good from 31 yards, and he missed one from 32.
It's all sort of fitting. It's been a very bizarre game. Nothing that anybody could really get a handle on, and it ends, or at least apparently has a chance of ending.
Hard to tell what the wind conditions are, Tim. If you look at the top of the goalposts in the west end zone where Butler will be aiming at, it appears that he's going to be kicking with the wind, but the swirling nature of the Coliseum, it might be a lot different down there.
Right, he's
swirling around.
He's kicking into the enclosed end, and a lot of the wind does not reach that part of the field. Well, here's the attempt. Bad snap. But a good kick, and the Bears have won a game.
Unbelievable.
20-17. And Kevin Butler will be flying high on his way home to Chicago tonight. Those Bear teammates love him. A very bizarre ending to an extremely bizarre game.
I tell you, that last play here, watch it again. Jim Harbaugh does a great job just to get the ball on the ground. Kevin Butler wants to kick it, finally gets his chance, and yeah, baby, it's good. It's good, and we're going home. Hello, Chicago.
Ron Fellows just missed the interception and just missed the block. So Fellows can't be a hero, and Butler is. The Bears have won 20-17. Our spotters, Chuck Panama for the Bears, Gretchen Meyer for the Raiders. We'll be back in just a moment with a wrap-up from Los Angeles.